Good evening. Today is February 4th, 2025. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Here's our board president, Joseph Chang.
Hi, good evening. Tonight, we have a special board of education meeting. Start at 6:05. All meeting of the board of the education are open to the member of the public, and this publicly noticed as a confidential closed section as follow, as allowed by the law. Member of the public may address the board as outlined in the public comment section of the agenda. The audience of all meeting is a recording and a member of the public may be held liable for any sentence or the otherwise defamatory statements. In consideration of the board and a member of the audience, please turn off, silence your cell phone while in the ballroom. The San Marino Unified School District encourages those with a disability to participate fully in the public meeting process. If you need a disability-related modification or accommodation, including auxiliary aid or service to participate in the public meeting, contact the assistant to the superintendent at the JDELATORRE@SMUSD.US or call the 626-299-7000 extension 1310 at least 48 hours before the scheduled board meeting so that we may make every reasonable effort to accommodate you. Document provided to a majority of the Board of Education regarding an open section item on this agenda will be made available for public inspection in the district office located at 1665 West Drive, San Marino, during normal business hours. In addition, such writing or document may be viewed on the district website at the www.smusd.us. Okay, right now, let's call to the order. Mr. Song.
Aye.
Miss Lam.
Here.
Miss Ryan.
Present.
Miss Gear.
Here.
Mr. Chen here. Right now, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next to be approve of agenda tonight. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Any second? Those in favor, no call, Mr. Song,
Aye.
Miss Lam,
Aye.
Miss Ryan,
Aye.
Miss Gear.
Aye.
Mr. Chen. Aye. Motion carry. Third, public comment. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public right to be heard in any matter pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide a public comment will have three options to submit the public comment. First, submit through an online form. Second, request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Three, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. First, submit through an online form. The public may submit a public comment for the open or closed section on February 4, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. comment received during the time will not be read during the meeting, but will be provided to the Board of Education. Do we have a?
We don't have any members online.
Okay. Request to speak during the meeting via the Zoom. During the public comment, the meeting will pause for 1 minute to take a request to speak. The raise hand function is used to take a request during the public comment period. For online attendee, press the raise hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attendee, dial the *9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of a request received.
Mr. Chang, there are no attendees. There are no attendees.
Okay.
Skip it.
Okay, and next is request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment. Do we have any?
There are no attendees.
Okay, thank you. Correct. Next, let's go to the I think, yeah, no comment card. So let's just go to the board study section, Dr. Territory.
Yes, thank you, President Chang, members of the Board of Education executive team. We are here this evening in response to a board request to go over our board policies, review them, and to determine whether or not there are any updates that need to be made by the Board of Education. Accordance with good governance standards, the Board of Education is really responsible for 3 major functions. One is hiring and managing the superintendent. The other is developing the school district's vision. And then the third is developing school board policy. So this is a very important function and one that we need to really pay attention to. And so what we have done is we have pulled together all of the board bylaws in the 9000 series. And to make it as easy as possible to be able to review these policies, what we have done is we have put together the CSBA, which is the California School Boards Association's recommended policies, which are reviewed by their lawyers, their attorneys. And we have compared them to our existing board adopted bylaws in the 9000 series. We have identified the differences between the existing policies and CSBA's recommended policies, which I'm going to cover with you this evening. So what you will see up on the screen tonight are the recommended policies that come from California School Boards Associations. What you have in your folder is a copy of the existing board policies that have been uploaded and are available online through our Gamut system. So if you go to our website, you're able to locate our existing board policies online, and that is what you have in your folders this evening. But we're going to really focus on the changes between the two, which I'd like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation for Jennifer Delatorre, who worked literally hours on comparing existing to proposed and highlighting them. So we're going to cover each of those areas tonight. And what we go through this evening should be considered a first reading of these policies, so that when we're done with our board study session this evening, we can bring them back to a future meeting in the form of a second reading and adoption of these policies. We really believe that it is important that we update all of our policies and make them available not only to the Board of Education online, but to our public online. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you'd like to pull up the first policy, we have before you this evening, Board Bylaw 9010, public statements. Again, what you're seeing on the screen is CSBA's sample district policy. Most boards of education in the state of California have just adopted the recommended policies. So if you go online and you look at board policies in other districts, you're probably going to see something that really mirrors the CSBA recommended. So we have highlighted line number 11 where it says board spokesperson. The difference between our existing policy and the recommended policy is at line 13 through line 15. Adds, with respect to a specific issue or topic, other representative as designated by the board or board president. I'm going to read that whole paragraph so you have context. All public statements authorized to be made on behalf of the board shall be made by the board president or, if appropriate, by the superintendent, or with respect to a specific issue or topic, other representative as designated by the board or board president. This clause relates to any kind of media inquiry, any kind of press that would show up on a school site. All of our principals and assistant principals and directors have been trained that there are two spokespersons for the school district, the board president and the superintendent, unless they're given permission either by the board president or the superintendent to speak on behalf of the school district. So that's what that means.
So sorry.
Sure.
Then it just says board spokesperson. So does that include district wide? I mean, that's what I'm.
Yeah, so,
I'm hearing
so
you
a
say.
board spokesperson, let's say that the president is out of the country. Another board member could be tapped as a board spokesperson on behalf of the board president, right? Which is what we have done in the past, and that person would be speaking on behalf of the Board of Education.
Okay.
And on behalf of the district.
Got it.
Thank you for asking that. Let's move down to lines 20 and 21. This is a simple change. You see that the words or by law and then the government code section are listed here. Those are missing from our existing policy. And so we're suggesting that we should add them to be in compliance with the CSBA recommended policy. So moving down to line 23, statements by individual board members. Line number 28 through line 30. This is giving an example. I'm going to read the whole paragraph quickly so that you have context. When speaking to community members, members of the public or the media, individual board members should recognize that their statements may be perceived as reflecting the views and positions of the board. Board members have a responsibility to identify when a viewpoint is held by an individual board member rather than the board as a whole. For example, a board member may include a disclaimer on the board member's personal social media account that the board member is expressing personal viewpoints and not those of the board or the district. And that's pretty important if you do have a social media account to make the distinction between your personal views and those that are held by the board.
Dr. Delatorre, I find that this entire public statement bylaw is very important, and it's really important not only for board members to remember kind of the chain of command and how we need to represent the district as a whole, but also it confuses the public when different people are speaking on similar matters. And so that's really important. And I know our cabinet is very well aware, because sometimes in the confusion, we actually add to compound whatever might be of concern for our parents. So for our parents and community, this is a really important one to recognize that the board president speaks for the board, and then you are acting as our secretary and you represent the school district. So,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Lines 32 through 34, board members who opt to express their opinions on district matters, whether in person or online, are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous, and professional manner, and to model good behavior for district students and the community. So this, again, is CSBA language, and it's in the CSBA recommended policy. So this is board bylaw 9010 public statements of first reading. Are there any questions, comments, or modifications that the board would like to recommend at this time?
Any question? Okay. None.
Okay, so we can move on to the next policy. And the policy you now see before you is bylaw 9012, board member electronic communications. You can see that our existing policy on electronic communications is has been, and I don't have it in front of me, Jen, do you have the date that our existing policy was adopted?
March 13th, 2018.
Okay, 2018, and the CSBA recommended was last updated on September 1st, 2024. So it is far more recent and relevant. The governing board recognizes that electronic communication is an efficient and convenient way for board members to communicate and expedite the exchange of information with each other, district staff, and members of the public. Board members shall exercise caution to ensure compliance with the Brown Act, the Public Records Act, and other applicable laws. So this language was not in our existing board bylaw and should be. As you all are aware, we are dealing with a considerable increase in the number of public records requests that we receive frequently, and also making sure that we are all complying with the Brown Act in public meetings is critically important as well. So I think it's a good reminder for everyone. Moving down to.
Dr. Territory, can you, for the line 7, can you explain why the insurer complies with the Brown Act? Yeah, give an example.
Sure. So there are instances where board members are prohibited from having what we call serial meetings. So a serial meeting, when you're communicating through email, as an example, that would be one example of an electronic communication. Let's say you as the board president reached out to Vice President Gill and you said, next Tuesday night, we have a regularly scheduled meeting and we're going to have this topic on the agenda. What is your opinion of that topic? And let's say that she responded, told you what she was going to vote. She's going to vote no on the item, right?
Yes.
And then you said, well, could you reach out also and find out what Clerk Ryan is thinking about the same agenda item. And so then Vice President Gill reaches out to Clerk Ryan and says, what do you think about the same agenda item? And she says, well, I'm going to vote yes. And so she explains why, right? The three of you now, which is a majority of the board, have engaged in what you call a serial meeting. You're talking about something that is going to be or is agendized on a meeting. And you guys are discussing how you're going to vote on that issue, and you can influence each other outside of the public process, which is a violation of the Brown Act. And so that is an example of a serial meeting that would take place on electronic communication. Same thing can happen in text messages, right? So Mr. Chang, as president, you could talk to one board member, but when you talk to another board member about the same item that is on an agenda, that will be voted on in a public meeting, then you're violating the Brown Act. So that's one example.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So moving down to item.
And subsequently as well, even if President Chang had only contacted one board member, but that board member turned around and contacted another board member, then it's still a serial meeting. And just to add on this electronic communication, not only on emails, texts, but also on social media.
Yep.
We've had an incident where you can just click on an emoji like over a topic that perhaps parents have been discussing. You like it. Mr. Chang on a separate platform likes it. And then, Ms. Lamb likes it. And there you go. We've all conferred publicly that we're all gonna, how you feel. So just being careful and cautious and recognizing that's an area that the Brown Act covers to ensure that the public has us acting in a manner that is respectful of transparency, as well as, I want to say that we hold to the highest integrity.
Yes, absolutely. Agreed. And that's the purpose of the Brown Act. The Brown Act really requires public officials to engage in deliberations in front of the public, out in the public, so the public can see how these decisions are being made, why they're being made. And so closed door conversations are not permitted, whether they're happening in person or through electronic communications. Okay, so looking at lines 9 through 11, the only change here is adding the government code citation. Lines number 17, can you scroll? Thank you. 17 through 24, board members may engage in separate conversations or communication with members of the public on a social media platform to answer questions, provide information, or solicit information regarding a matter that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, as long as a majority of the board does not use the platform to discuss among themselves any business of a specific nature that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. And we just talked about that and gave examples. Additionally, board members are prohibited from using digital icons. Thank you, Board Member Ryan, such as likes or emojis that express reactions to communications made by other board members regarding matters within subject matter jurisdiction of the board. And there's a government code citation there. So that is, you were right on spot there, right on target.
May I,
Mhm.
I think we need to add like what Shelley was saying too. What if it's a third party, a parent ranting or praising an employee,
Mhm.
right? So, and their contract's coming up or ranting about something that happened. I think we should also include any matters within the subject jurisdiction, like made by anybody. Do you understand what
Yeah.
I'm getting at? Not just board members who post, but
Oh, okay.
we can't
Mhm.
show we're agreeing with a parent or
Mhm.
another employee. Unless
Right,
that's,
okay.
Mhm.
So,
unless that's here, I mean,
no, I hear what you're saying. So instead of it just being, posts or
communications
comments
made by
board
other
members.
or members of the public,
Yeah,
right?
okay, so let's add, do you have editing capability, Quack or Jen, one of the two of you?
Yep.
Can you add,
You guys agree or?
where it says communications made by, yeah, we need to make sure that the majority
Yeah.
of the board agrees with this, but communications made by, other board members or any members of the public.
Yeah.
So add after board members, put your cursor after the word members.
On line 17.
On line 23, after board members. Or any members of the public.
Any member, yeah.
And then can you underline that, or any members of, just underline that one section, one line? So we know what we've changed. Thank you. Okay. Moving down to lines 20, or were there any other questions or comments or concerns about that area? If not, we'll move on. Okay, lines 26 through 28. Board members shall make every effort to ensure that their electronic communications conform to board bylaw 9010 public statements and shall forward any complaints or requests for information to the superintendent in accordance with applicable board bylaws. So, and you're all really great about doing this. Thank you so much. When there are complaints about personnel, issues of concern about facilities, anything like that, they should be referred to the superintendent for handling. That way you don't get involved and parents don't expect you to, handle that. You guys are the what and we're the how, right? So you guys develop the vision and we carry out your vision. So you shouldn't get involved in the administration of the district. That's our job to do on your behalf. But you can certainly refer those things to us for handling and we will handle them expeditiously. Okay, any questions on that?
Any question? Okay, even not, we can move
Okay.
to the next
thank you.
one.
So we're not yet done with this one, right? Wait a minute, where were we? Lines 30, right?
Yes.
Okay, line 30 through 33, to the extent possible, electronic communications regarding any district-related business shall be transmitted through a district-provided device or account. When any such communication is transmitted through a board member's personal device or account, the board member shall copy the communication to a district electronic storage device for easy retrieval. So board members should make sure that they separate their personal communications from their district communications. And the reason for that is the public records. You don't want people asking you for all of your communications on your private cell phone or your private email account. And as long as you don't mix the two, you can say, I don't have any district related communications on my text account or on my personal email. So then that won't be a problem and it protects you and it protects your privacy.
So 3 out of the 5 are active parents in the district. I personally use my personal email when I'm emailing with a teacher or,
That's okay because
so that's,
you have rights as a parent.
that's okay.
That is not.
I was trying to keep those separate, so I wasn't trying to seem,
That's your mom.
Yeah.
Role and responsibility, which is your personal life. Your elected official position has to do with district governance.
Okay.
And so as long as you're not mixing those two, you're fine. Okay. So where am I? Lines 35 through 36. This bylaw does not apply to board member electronic communications not related to district business or not conducted by a board member in the board member's official capacity. So for those of you, the 3 of you that have children in our schools, you have your parent hat and your board member hat. And so they're 2 separate roles that you have. And as long as you keep them separate, you're fine. Okay, any questions, concerns, or can we move on to the next policy?
Okay, next is bylaw 9100. Huh?
Thank you. Yes, bylaw 9100 is organization. So lines 6 through 8. We're adding during all other years, the meeting may be held on any date in December, but no later than December 20th, and then the Ed Code citation. And this is for the annual organizational meeting, which we're always in compliance with. And just for context, I'll read the whole thing. Each year, the governing board shall hold an annual organizational meeting. In any year in which a regular election of district board members is conducted, the organizational meeting shall be held within 15 days following the second Friday in December after the regular election. So we do that. And Jennifer Delatorre is an expert in making sure that we're complying with that Ed Code. Lines 10 through 17, this is absent from our current policy. During any year in which a regular election is conducted, the board at the regular meeting held immediately prior to the second Friday in December shall select the day and time of the organizational meeting. For any other year, the day and time of the organizational meeting shall be selected at the last regular meeting held immediately before the annual meeting. On behalf of the board, the superintendent shall notify the county superintendent of schools of the day and time selected. Within 15 days prior to the date of the annual meeting, the superintendent shall notify in writing all board members and members-elect of the date and time selected for the meeting. And that's in Ed Code 35143. And we do provide you with a calendar of all the board meetings, and it complies with this section. Any questions on that? Okay, we can move to the next.
Okay.
Oh, hold on, we're still here on election of, it's still within the organization policy. Sorry, Joseph. So let's scroll down. So on the election of officers, we have option 1 and option 2. So option 1 through CSBA's recommended policy says the board shall each year elect one of its members to be clerk/vice president. This member shall be one who previously has not served in this office unless all board members have previously served in office. After serving 1 year as clerk vice president, the elected member shall serve 1 year as president of the board. That's option 1. Option 2, which is what we have in our current policy and is what I recommend. Option 2 just says the board shall each year elect its entire slate of officers. I think option 2 provides the Board of Education with the most flexibility because we don't know, what the future holds. And we have had some turnover on our board in the past. As an example, we had a board member who was elected, served 6 months and abruptly quit. And then we had to appoint a board member to replace that individual. And then we had another who left. So I think you give yourself as much flexibility as a board to determine your slate of officers, depending on the circumstances around you. And you don't paint yourself into a corner by using option 1, which is just cookie cutter standard, this is how it goes, no matter what.
Yeah.
So that's up to you, though. You're the board. And this is
I
your
think that's absolutely correct because at one point, we only had 3 board members.
Mhm.
And even if we all filled a position, there were still, like who was nominating who, right? So I just think that the flexible one is option 2, and I think we need to go with that.
Okay, great.
Does anyone
Agreed.
have any other?
I agree with 2.
Yeah.
I like 2 as well.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Okay, so we'll keep 2 and option 1 is stricken. Moving down to line number 50, this is what CSBA had in their recommended policy. No board member shall serve more than blank consecutive years in the same office. And I think that's like saying, you know, if you're president for, you know, you can't serve more than 6 years as president or 5 years as president or whatever. And you don't even have to have this in your policy. Again, if you want flexibility, because at some point you may want the same person to be president for longer for some unspecified reason. I don't know. This doesn't say, I mean, this kind of paints you into a corner also, depending on what you put in there, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I think we should leave it up to the board to decide and not have the language in there dictate. Only because as a board, there are circumstances and needs. For instance, COVID.
Yeah.
The hiring of a superintendent, you may want some transitional period for the superintendent. Also bond election times, parcel tax, and then there are some times of uncertainty. So sometimes you may not want to have that person leave the leadership role if something may take 1 or 2 years. It just depends. I think the board should have discretion. That's just my thought, rather than saying can only do this and then that's it.
And since you have to vote on who's the president anyway, you're not really losing anything to omit this because you all as a board are making the decision on who's president every year, right? So any other comments or concerns on striking that?
Strike.
Strike. Okay, just striking it?
Yes.
Okay, let's strike that. Okay, now we can move on. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next, let's go to the bylaw 9124.
Okay.
Attorney.
Yes, this is the CSBA recommended policy on attorney. It was last updated in 2023, so it is more updated than ours. The governing board recognizes the complex legal environment in which districts operate, the need to provide legal representation for the district, and the importance of reliable, cost-effective, high-quality legal advice and services. In order to meet the district's legal needs, the board may appoint legal counsel and fix and order paid legal counsel's compensation as an employee or as an independent contractor, and this is Education Code 35041.5. The board may enter into independent contractor service agreements with law firms, attorneys, and private practice, and other public or private legal service entities. And there's the Education Code citations there and the government code citations. The board also supports pursuing collaborative legal efforts with other districts as well as other governmental or government agencies as appropriate. See that section really referring to, you know, if the SELPA had a legal claim, you know, we would come together as a group of districts to file that claim. Also, we have a JPA that covers multiple districts and provides legal support and services to San Marino as well. Any questions on lines 4 through 17?
Okay, for this chapter, I like to share the previous experience with our board member. You know, one time among the 5 board members, we have 3 lawyers. So I like superintendent to share when you are the board member and you are also the lawyer, how to deal with the issue.
So that's yeah, that's a difficult thing to respond to, but I will.
Yes.
So I think that you know, public education law is a niche area of discipline and expertise, and we have several attorneys that are experts in that particular area of law. And when you are a practicing attorney, typically you have a certain discipline or area of expertise that you focus on. And if it isn't public education, then you have to rely on the expertise of those people who are experts in that area. This is what they do all day, every day for, you know, year after year after year. And so I have found that relying on the advice of experts in this area is the best practice. And even if you are an attorney and even if you are an elected official, you should still rely on the expertise of attorneys in that particular area of expertise. Even within our public education firms, there are attorneys who do certain things. There are attorneys who specialize in special education law. There are attorneys who specialize in labor and employment law. There are attorneys who specialize in real estate transactions, all within the public school district environment. And I think that in the past, even when we've had attorneys that are on the board, they recognize that they need the expertise of those individuals. Does that help?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just like the eye doctor cannot fix your arm, pretty much,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah.
so each doctor has a specialties, and even IT has all the specialties. Everybody's different now.
Great.
I think you want to reduce your own exposure
Yes,
as well
absolutely.
to any sort of litigation if you are on the board and then also
Yeah.
giving legal advice. I
Right.
don't think that I think it is in conflict is what I'm trying to
It
say.
is. It is absolutely in conflict, and so I agree with that. Thank you.
But like you said, the two different hats.
Two different hats.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it gives you a different perspective in your role as a board member, but your role as a board member is to govern, not to provide legal advice. It's to, again, hire the superintendent, evaluate the superintendent, develop the vision for the school district, and develop policy. And so providing legal advice is something that, public school attorneys should do. And I think for the most part, everybody understands that. Thank you.
Okay, any more question on the bylaw 9124? If not, let's go.
I think do we have some more under the same one though? We do. Sorry,
Oh,
Mr.
yes.
Chen, you're trying to. move
Yeah, I
us.
cannot see.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
So under retaining legal counsel, lines 34 through 49. When the district is seeking legal advice or representation, the superintendent or designee shall identify prospective attorneys, firms, and legal service entities. The district may but is not required to initiate a request for proposal to advertise and solicit proposals for legal services in evaluating the prospective attorneys, firms, and or entities. The board and superintendent may consider the attorneys, firms, and or entities' background, experience, and relevant legal reputation, experience advising and representing school districts in California, fees and experience of attorneys at the firm who will provide legal services. Any attorney representing the district shall be admitted to practice law in California. That's the education code citation. The board and superintendent shall periodically evaluate the performance of the firms and or attorneys and the efficiency and adequacy of advice, the results obtained for the district, the reasonableness of fees, and the responsiveness to and interactions with the board administration and community. And I feel like that evaluation process is going on all the time. So this is kind of in keeping with what we're currently doing. Scroll down. The board may use such evaluations to determine whether to renew any current agreements for legal services. We have decided to change firms with respect, and this was several years ago, with respect to our labor and employment attorneys, and we have been very happy with the new firm. So that does happen. The board may also contract for specialized legal services as appropriate when a majority of the board determines that the unique demands of a particular issue or emergency situation require such representation. And again, it has to be the majority of the board that is directing that, not one board member or two board members. It has to be three or more. And then under contacting, legal counsel, line 60, we're just adding or designee may at their discretion to that line, which is the board president or superintendent or designee may at their discretion confer with district legal counsel, subject to any limits or parameters established by the board. So what this is allowing is if for some reason I'm out of town and let's say a special education issue comes up and I need Dr. Richter to be able to talk to the attorney about a settlement proposal that comes through. It allows her as a designee to do that. And that's been our practice anyway. So this is just memorializing that in policy. Moving down to line 66, We're just adding the word superintendent, which is absent from our current policy. Individual board members other than the board president may not seek advice from district legal counsel on matters of district business unless so authorized by the superintendent, the board president, or a majority of the board. So when you're board president, you can, you are the spokesperson for the rest of the board. And that is the person who can have the conversations with legal counsel unless the board president decides or the superintendent decides that it's more appropriate for, let's say there's a subcommittee comprised of two of you that are working on a particular issue. Let's say that we were engaged in a real estate transaction and we wanted board member Lamb to be involved because of her expertise in real estate and board member Gill because of her expertise in real estate to be a subcommittee, and we wanted you to talk to the real estate attorney, right? I mean, it would need to make sense, and that's what we have done in past practice. Okay,
So this is because the attorneys represent us in our capacity as a total board, not individual
That
board
is
members.
absolutely correct.
As we've kind of maybe seen some confusion in the past.
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
and it's really important that we emphasize that it should go through appropriate channels instead of, I'm reaching out to our attorneys or whatever. It has to be so run through by our president and or yourself should be included rather
Yes.
than me contacting them because we all have the same information.
right. And it
Right.
should be that, the majority of the board really has already authorized that the board president even contact the attorney, right? So
Mhm.
So you're not getting carved out of any conversations. You're a part of that. You understand why it's happening and what we're doing. It's just that the board president is really the spokesperson representing the entire board as you stated.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so is this okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we're moving on to board bylaw 9150, which is student board members. And we were just bringing this up, I think. About compensation. I think Vice President Gill brought this up. And this basically clarifies that issue. This would add to our existing policy in the highlighted areas. Student board members may, this is lines 8 through 10. Student board members may at the board's discretion receive elective course credit for service as a student board member based on the number of equivalent daily instructional minutes for the student board members' services provided. So that is an option, but it's not necessary and we haven't done it in the past. So I don't know whether you want to include it or not, but it is an option. They do typically serve for a full year. But normally their schedule is already full and they're already, good with their electives. So I'm not sure that it fits with San Marino's schedule.
I sort of disagree
Mhm.
with you in that sense because I feel like they take so much of their personal time here at late meetings, and I think that that's definitely worth something. Plus, they're definitely learning about governance. And it's at the discretion. I mean, the high school would probably have to create some sort of thing, but when you're looking at registering, you get priority based on your units. And so I do think it's worth something.
If you guys want to add it, it's doable. It's in the ed code. It's available.
So credit for like social science or civics or what? I'm not clear.
It's just like an
So-
extra
C-
credit.
CTE kind of thing?
That means she can only have to take 5 classes, not 6 classes in the year when she's in the school.
I think it would
No.
just be
It's just like
being
extra.
just like taking a 0 period.
A 0 period kind of thing.
Yeah, like a 0 period or, like a.
I think they should be entitled to
And-
it, honestly.
Or they get graded.
No,
that
they get graded,
it's
just like
an
No, we can't grade.
Credit, no credit.
No, I try to figure out what kind of benefit they get
Yeah.
academically.
This
though.
will increase our pool of applicants that I don't know how
No,
large the pool is.
we don't have any problems in getting
Okay.
students
Yeah.
being on the board. We
I know.
don't.
Mhm.
I just see like when you're talking about entitled to reimbursement,
Says no.
mileage and all of that. I'm wondering though, only because, I don't know if this is like a position that, they represent their student body. And then to say they should get entitled to be reimbursed
I don't think you're sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
don't think you're reading it in this. spirit
just
of
for
it.
mileage, right? You're
This
saying,
is mileage in the same extent as other board members. So if we have her go to a conference or we have her go somewhere that's a driving, like, we don't get reimbursed to come to this meeting because this is your work, basically. So
Well, I think the way it reads make it seem like she is getting, or whoever is going.
Maybe it
getting
needs to be
attendance
clarified.
at board meetings, so maybe it just needs to be
Mhm.
outside.
worded in some
Yeah,
way.
only
that
just because we
specifies-
just talked about board members being compensated every month and yeah.
And it
So I'm
says
just
here-
worried, yeah.
But shall not receive
Compensation.
monetary compensation for attendance at board meetings.
Is that any monetary, including mileage? If you put that, including.
Well, no, what that's saying is that she is not entitled to receive monetary compensation for attendance at board meetings, but that she would be entitled to reimbursement for mileage to the same extent as other members of the board, but other members of the board aren't getting reimbursed for
Right,
mileage.
so that's why
So
that's
I
a
would
hard
say
one.
just eliminate that whole, I mean, that's my personal feeling, because we don't have
I
our student
agree.
board members going to
Yeah.
conferences.
Yeah.
Right, it's too,
And you don't
And it'll
get
be too confusing.
reimbursement. Yeah,
And it'll create a lot of work.
it's kind of convoluted too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Strike that whole
yeah.
section and move on. So we're moving down to line number 18 petition. High school students.
Are
may-
you, sorry,
Mm.
Vice President Gill, you're okay with that credit under like the CT
Well,
umbrella or whatever? or-
I think I am. I didn't hear what the consensus was on
No.
that from everybody.
I like the credit idea. I think it's nice and it's deserving. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of time commitment. We're not like, I don't know, this is not like
It's
like a
not really
service
fun.
club or
It's
like
not
a-
that fun
like a
for.
Red Cross, a Red Cross Service Club or whatever. They're with their friends. They're here to help govern and represent the student body. That's
Yeah.
their voice and
Yeah,
It-
I
they're
would,
the-
I would still look at that only because, let's say we say 3 hours twice a month, that's 6 hours a month. It needs to be kind of equivalent because then we're just padding credits on a student, like meaning,
What does
Um,
say with same for instructional minutes?
okay,
Minute
so,
to minute.
okay, so instructional minute, like they would get 6 extra hours per month.
180 minutes or something.
Can you go back up to that one section that we're talking about?
Like, I just want to be careful because a lot of our classes and
Equivalent
courses,
Daily instructional minutes, yeah, for the student board member service provided, so it's in there. It would have to be equivalent, and I tell you what if we take this back to the administration at San Marino High School
yeah,
and the counseling office?
it's hard for them to keep track and to kind of, and to manage the minutes, like on a
Mhm.
kid's transcript to say, okay, she gets 2 units out of 5 because she's, or whatever. I just want to be careful because most of our classes are all UC approved, Cal State approved, and then to put something in their transcript, we need to be really intentional about really what it is we're saying.
Let me consult with the high school and then bring that information back to the board so that we
Yeah.
can make a better informed decision.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure it does not negatively affect them in the,
Oh,
if you
no.
put the
Oh, I see what you're
transcript,
saying.
because I'm a 5.0 GPA student and you put there is that now you're GPA 4.8 now, something
Yeah.
like that.
No, it would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
No, that
addition,
won't
not
happen.
And it wouldn't even be a pass fail.
Yeah.
It's just a participation.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's not gonna be even
Yeah.
weighted, graded, anything like
It's just
that,
a
right?
credit.
It's like a
Mhm.
credit, yeah. Okay, I think it might.
maybe in lieu of community service, you know how the kids
Oh,
have
she-
community
Oh, they
service.
could use it as their hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
better than.
Service hours.
Community service is better.
Yeah, I like that one better.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Okay,
To the high school about it, and Mrs. Delatorre, will you please make a note that I need to contact Dr. Wolf tomorrow to discuss this? And then
for service hours. Great
information.
idea,
Yeah.
Vice President Gill. No, it really is. It's just, we also have to be careful,
Yes.
how.
Yeah, it
we-
has to, I mean, there has to be the correct framework and definitely just a consistent way to
Yeah.
formula of doing it or whatever, but
Good, okay,
yeah, please
Definitely.
consult with them. That it's their school,
Sure.
so yeah.
thank you. Okay, we will do that. So line 18 petition, high school students may submit a petition to the board requesting the appointment of at least one student board member. We've not done that in the past.
Can we strike that?
Yeah. Let's strike it.
Yeah.
Which one?
20,
Lines
There.
20 through 21. We've not done that. And
because we
that,
have it.
yeah. Just that one paragraph so far. Let's take them through and see.
Okay.
Lines 20 and 21, strike those two lines. Oh, actually, you can't
Oh, wow.
strike 23 through 25 because it's related.
All the way down, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The whole
and-
petition section.
Yeah, let me see. A student board member chosen by, yeah, you could strike the whole thing if the board doesn't want to go through that convoluted process. Except for the last paragraph, right? The term of a student board member shall be 1 year commencing on July 1st. However, the board may adjust the term of a student board member only if a vacancy occurs or in order to give more students an opportunity to serve on the board. I think you want to keep that, right? The term.
Chosen by, so how are they chosen?
So they are chosen, the principal technically approves the student, but it comes
ASB.
from ASB
ASB
leadership.
student body.
And so, the ASB coordinator usually, takes them through a process and then chooses, and I'm not sure what their specific process is, but, they're the ones who present us with the board member.
But do you want to put something in there for choosing and memorialize that's the process, or chosen by?
I think it says, it does have that language in here somewhere, right, Jen? As we go down? Yeah, so
Selection of the
it's in there.
student board member under line 19.
Yeah,
It does currently have it in there.
go up to 19 on the CSBA.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the district one.
Yeah. Okay,
It
so.
doesn't have anything in the CSBA one about the principal or ASB
So let's
advisor.
keep the on line 19, for this policy.
Mhm.
Line position. Let me pull it up. Can you read it,
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Jen?
On the district policy?
Yeah.
A student board member shall be selected by the San Marino High School principal and shall be enrolled in the high school in accordance with procedures prescribed by the board.
Yes, so I think we keep that line, and can you type that in there? Under choosing student board members, keep the heading choosing student board members,
Okay,
and then type that underneath.
okay, got it.
And that's all we had, right, on selecting student board members in our existing policy.
Correct.
That takes care of that.
I think it's a good paragraph to keep above it too. Are we keeping what we have and just adding to? In,
No,
in
we're
the district,
changing-
in the district one, because it also says that,
Mm-hmm.
the board may elect to, eliminate. I thought, it says the position. I'm thinking that if there's a problem with the specific student.
So I thought that the CSBA
Handles that.
recommended policy said that once you create the position, you can eliminate it. And if you had a problem with a specific student, you would talk to high school administration and they would handle it. Yeah.
Can we shorten the term? Maybe not 1 year, like every 3 months or something like that?
I think that might
Because
be
we,
challenging because for continuity's sake,
I see,
um,
we get a more chance to the student to experience more.
the high school, with everybody's schedule, I mean, it's just been one per year.
I see.
To have a different one come every 3 months, I think that would be,
It's like
Okay.
ASB. It's like ASB. where
Yeah.
You have a year term, right? I
Right.
mean,
yeah, I think it should be, that's
I-
my
I
first,
thought-
but
yeah.
it's. policy
I
for-
thought the board was like a part already ASB already. And so within the ASB, they can take a turns to come to the board, something like
Hmm.
that. Because that's
and-
different than ASB story, because they're already in the ASB.
Yeah, no, Joshua, I really appreciate that, you want to look at opportunities for more students and for equity and inclusion and all of that. However, I just want to remind everyone that the school board is here to conduct business for this entire school district And say we read something like today, we read all these policy, and let's say the cutoff was tonight was the last meeting, and in 2 weeks from now, there's another meeting, right? And a new ASB student comes in. She's not gonna know we read all this in first reading. She's not gonna know what we voted on and why we had that discussion, or he. And so I agree with what you're saying, Linda, about continuity, but I also want to make sure that there is no disruption to the order of business here, right?
Yeah.
It is a sampling, it is an ability for students to be civically engaged and to be in this leadership role. But also, this is running of a school district, and it may not be the right place to offer those leadership.
Yeah.
But I like your idea about giving more opportunities. It's
The
just,
Superintendent's Advisory Council.
yeah, that was really good.
22 kids.
22
on the
kids from-
Superintendent's advisory council, and they're all very engaged and very communicative.
That's a good place.
So it is a great opportunity for them.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, all of you. Okay, so but back to Vice President Gill's comment about the paragraph before, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? The paragraph before in our existing?
I'm sorry, we weren't
Sorry.
listening to you.
I thought she made a good point, but
Nobody knows what you said.
I tried.
The board has created a student board member position that shall remain in effect until the board by majority vote of all voting board members approves a motion to eliminate the position.
Yeah. And
In
then,
the event the board has eliminated the student board member position, the district's high school students may petition. See, we have petition in here already
yeah,
for a board student member.
right. So historically, since the position was created, we've not had a problem and it's been fine. So,
I think
and
that's
I
where
think-
that other language for petitions
yeah,
was coming in to replace this, but
right. I think if you choosing student board members, a student board member shall be selected by the San Marino High School principal and shall be enrolled in the high school in accordance with procedures prescribed by the board. And then let's go down. Keep going, right there. So all materials presented to board members except those, this is important, related to closed session shall be presented to the student board members at the same time they are presented to other board members. Student board members shall also be invited to attend staff briefings or be provided with a separate staff briefing within the same time frame as the briefing of other board members. In addition, all materials given to board members by the district between meetings, except for materials that pertain to closed session items, shall be distributed to student board members, and there's an ed code citation. So this just really reiterates and solidifies that student board members are not privileged to access closed session topics, agenda items. They can't vote on closed session items, so we shouldn't be asking them for a preferential vote on any closed session items that we're approving in open session. So there's an ed code citation, line 62 through 64. That's all we're adding there. And then scrolling down to line 75 through 79, student board members shall be appointed to subcommittees of the board in the same manner as other board members and shall be made aware of the time commitment required to participate in subcommittee meetings and work and of the right to decline an appointment. The availability of subcommittee members, including the availability of student board members, may be considered when scheduling subcommittee meetings. So we, in the past, have not assigned, I don't think, a student board member to a subcommittee. So I don't know that you even want that because our kids are so overscheduled already. I don't know that they would even have time to do something like that.
We only ask
In the
the
same-
opinion, yeah. Like
Okay.
one time we have the student homework, yeah, we ask the.
I don't see a problem with leaving it in if that's what they're, it to me, it doesn't do any harm.
Doesn't do any harm. It's there if you ever wanted to use it, but you don't have to.
Like if we want our student board member in a
Well, it
subcommittee.
says shall be,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Where?
Because you have to be. right?
yeah.
In
No,
the same
no.
manner as other board members and shall be, so if you need to choose two board members, you're choosing,
But like an example, we selected 2 board members to serve as a subcommittee for the oversight committee.
right, so you don't necessarily pick them.
Right.
They don't, they're not owed a spot on the subcommittee.
Mhm.
Is how that,
You just, shouldn't we just strike it? then?
Yeah.
I think we should just.
Yeah,
strike
strike
because
it,
says
yeah.
shall, not may.
Mhm.
And so it kind of implies that if you're creating a subcommittee, that they
Have to be.
have to be added. And I think you could always, if you wanted them to, you don't necessarily need a policy.
you could always
to
bring
ask
us,
them to serve.
you could always,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Richard
Yeah,
has
that's
students
true.
serving on her LCAP, right?
Yep.
And so she didn't need a policy for that. She
Yeah.
just asked them to serve.
no, you're right.
Okay, so we can strike that.
And it's really important. We always want to include student voice. They're included in safety committees. They're included in a lot of things. Debates, forums, all those things. And then they're on your represented
Yes.
superintendent committees and so forth. So I don't think we need the language.
Yeah.
And just being aware that we always want to include them is, I think, fine.
Okay, great. Lines 81 through 82, student board members shall be invited to attend all functions of the board, such as forums, meetings with students and parents, guardians, and other general assemblies.
Do we need the policy?
Don't need the policy. We can strike
No.
if you guys are comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it just creates more work for staff.
Mm-hmm.
And it might put more pressure
On
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 the
the
kids to
kid.
feel
Yeah.
Like they need.
encumbered by that. Yeah. Okay. Line 84, student board member training, 86 through 89. The superintendent designee may at district expense provide learning opportunities to student board members through trainings, workshops, and conferences, such as those offered by CSBA and other organizations to enhance their knowledge, understanding.
Convenient.
Oh, yeah.
They want us to pay for their trainings.
I
for
know.
that. Yeah.
Of course, right? So, we haven't pulled kids for that in the past, but I mean, and again, if we wanted to, we could. We don't necessarily need a policy for it, but
Right. For instance, when we were at the Disneyland one, they had a separate student governance thing.
oh, yeah.
But they sort of ran it like a camp where they had chaperones and they had all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think we need the policy either, but
Okay,
to be.
are we good with that? Striking it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's strike that. Line 91 through 94, superintendent or designee may periodically provide information to student board member candidates to give them an understanding of the position. Once chosen or appointed, incoming student board members shall be provided an orientation designed to build knowledge of the district and an understanding of the responsibilities and expectations of the position. We informally do this, so I don't have a problem with this language, and I'm happy to continue to provide an orientation to student board members.
We already have that language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to leave it in there? Okay. Alternate student board member, if the board determines that the student board member's duties are not being fulfilled, the board may appoint another student to serve out the term of the student board member. If an alternate student board member is appointed, the board shall suspend the prior student board member's rights and privileges related to service on the board. And so there's the, fix for if something is not going well. But I have faith in the high school that they're gonna pick the right person.
Yeah, and
responsible.
also, all of our student, as long as Mr. Chang has probably been on the board 25 years, we've always had very good student board members. But there may be a time in which for extenuating circumstances, health reasons, travel or the like, that it could affect the students' attendance or whatever, so that's definitely an area we can look at, but I don't think we need a policy. I think if something came up, we could all consult with the high school and have an alternative if somebody can't
I
fulfill their
also-
duties.
I also think we need to remember
Mhm.
that this position is still a minor position. I would feel very uncomfortable taking a vote for them here to kick them out. I
Right.
think it's, and kids
Yeah.
do a lot of things that they learn from early on.
So
So
strike that?
Yeah.
Yeah, take it out.
One
I
eighty.
think, because we can do it in a different manner
Yeah.
to support the student.
right, it's not supporting them
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, and then
Let's go.
elimination of student board member position. This is something that I think was in the other policy.
Mhm.
Well, that the public agenda item
Where?
in the 197, 187 or 197?
97.
Mhm.
107?
You mean 107?
No, 19. That's 107?
Yeah,
Okay.
those are zeros.
07.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? Okay, so 103 to 107.
Oh, okay.
I want,
So continue to exist.
Uh-huh.
No.
Until the board, but, so do you? No,
no,
take
no,
it out?
take, I
Okay.
think.
I
Strike
think you
it.
could put it's at the discretion of the superintendent and high school principal. Honestly, I think, I don't know.
Well, we can just
No
take it out.
policy, just
Yeah,
take
no,
it out
take it out.
because we,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
It gives us more flexibility and it supports the student, being able to accommodate what their needs are as well, right?
yes, okay, good.
So I'm
Great.
gonna step down.
All right, we're making progress. Okay, the next policy?
Can you go back to 40, the line for, okay, they say the term of a student board member shall be 1 year,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes.
then however, the board may adjust the.
I
term.
knew you were going to do that, Joseph. I knew that one.
What do you mean, however, the board may adjust the term of a student board member only if a vacancy occur?
Uh-huh.
Why?
Well, I thought that meant if a student couldn't serve the
Mm.
full year and they create a vacancy, then you can fill it with someone else, right? So then their term would be the remaining number of months in the year.
Right.
So in other words, if you had a student who started in August
Mm-hmm.
and they were here August, September, October, they served 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then they couldn't serve any longer because let's say they moved to the
Mhm.
East Coast.
Yeah.
Then you would have to get another student
Mhm.
and change the term for that student to the remaining.
I think the term should be the final board meeting of the year,
Mhm.
not a year term. Because
The term of a student board member shall be
1 year
shall
commencement.
be consistent with the academic year, right?
Yeah, so July
Yeah.
1st.
Yeah. And
Shall be consistent with the academic calendar.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
yeah.
Okay, so can you type that in there? Shall be consistent
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of August to
with the
May,
academic year.
August to May-ish.
Yes.
June now.
It's going to June.
Yes.
Sorry to say.
And also no more than one the academic
Mhm.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a term limit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Term
So
limit. Yeah.
students, okay,
I knew you were gonna pick that one up.
okay, so at the end of this, then, okay, why don't you say, student board members shall be limited to a maximum of 1 term.
Do we even need that policy though either? I guess it's fine.
I am sorry, can you repeat that again?
Student board members shall, why don't you say shall serve a maximum of 1 term? And then 1 term is defined as 1 academic year. And then do you still want the language, however, the board may adjust the term, or you want to
Yeah.
take that out? You want to leave
Yeah.
that in there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we leave that in there. Okay, so underline that. Thank you. Okay. we
Okay,
good with this
yeah.
one? All right,
Okay.
let's move to the next one. Okay, by law 9220 governing board elections. So we just have the ed code citation in the first paragraph that is being added. Go down. Recalling a board member was that not in our policy, Jen?
We did not have that one
We
listed.
did not have this section in our policy at all. So I'm not sure if you need it or want it, but a board member may be recalled as permitted by elections code 11 000 through 11386 to commence a recall of a board member. Proponents shall serve, file, and publish or post a notice of intention to circulate the recall petition as specified by law and any applicable county elections officials' directives. Additionally, the recall petition shall be in the format provided by the Secretary of State and include, among other things, an estimate of the cost conducting the special election as determined by county elections official in consultation with the district. Within 14 days after the regular meeting at which the board receives the certificate of sufficiency of signatures on a recall petition from a county elections official, the board shall order an election to be held to determine whether the board member named in the petition shall be recalled. The election shall be held not less than 88 nor more than 125 days after the date that the board orders the election. However, the election may be conducted within 180 days after the issuance of the board's order to consolidate the election with a regularly scheduled election. And there's an election code citation. A recall election of a board member shall be conducted in accordance with elections code 11381 through 11386. If a recall of a board member is successful, that board member's seat becomes vacant and shall be filled in accordance with education code section 5090 through 95 and board bylaw 9223, filling vacancies, consolidation of elections. So first, let me stop there. This is not like the board initiating a recall. This is if the community were to initiate a recall, how the board is obligated to respond to it. So it's really just providing guidance to the board on what is the legal way that you would respond to the fact that somebody is trying to recall a board member. And I'm sure this will never, ever happen here, but it's happened in a lot in Orange County and in other areas in California because of the political landscape. So I felt that it was important at least to bring it to you so that if, you know, it should happen here, which I don't think it will ever, that the board has a policy that would guide their actions and their responses to that. So any questions or concerns about this section? Okay, because it's all in accordance with the elections code. Consolidation of elections, the board may consolidate board elections with the local, municipal, or statewide primary or general election in accordance with elections code 1302. Additionally, if a regularly scheduled board election held other than on a statewide election date results in a decrease of local voter turnout of 25% or more compared to the average local turnout for the previous 4 statewide general elections, the board shall take action to consolidate board elections with statewide elections in accordance with the elections code 14051 through 14052. In order to consolidate elections, the board shall adopt a resolution and submit it to the County Board of Supervisors for approval not later than 240 days prior to the date of the currently scheduled district election. And there's the election code citation. Whenever a regularly scheduled board election is changed due to consolidation of elections, the term of office of incumbent board members shall be extended to align with the next applicable election. Any questions on that section? Okay. Elections process and procedures. For each election upon certification by the County Board of Supervisors, the board shall declare who has been elected to the board in accordance with law. A board member whose term has expired shall continue to discharge the duties of the office until a successor has qualified by taking the oath of office. Election using at-large voting method. Board members may reside anywhere within the district's boundaries and shall be elected by all voters in the district. The board may review the district's board election method to determine whether any modification is necessary. If the district seeks to change its election method, the board shall follow procedural requirements and hold public hearings in accordance with election codes 110 and 21100 through 21150 before adopting a resolution at an open meeting specifying the change and obtain approval from the County Committee on School District Organization having jurisdiction over the district in accordance with Education Code Section 5019. The election method or trustee area boundaries in effect at the beginning of a board member's term shall be used when any vacancy that occurs during that term is to be filled, even if during the term the district has adopted. I don't think we need that section 87 through 90 because that would apply to trustee areas, and we're an at-large, not a trustee area. So I would say strike
Due to
87
the
through 90.
size of our community and all of
Correct.
that.
And then we move to line 92, campaign conduct. All candidates, including current board members running as incumbents, shall abide by local, county, state, and federal requirements regarding campaign contributions, funding, and expenditures. A board member shall not expend, and a candidate shall not accept any public money for the purpose of seeking elective office. However, the district may establish a dedicated fund for those seeking election to the board, provided that the funds are available to all candidates who are qualified pursuant to Education Code 35107 without regard to incumbency or political preference. Not sure we've ever done that.
What is the definition for public money?
So public money is like school district money, right? We receive public funds. The city has public money that they have, right? So
How about if
private organizations can donate.
how about if a 501c3 organization that give money, is that
That's a
considered public?
nonprofit. No, public money would be cities, municipalities, school districts, right? If you had, as an example, CTA could donate to your campaign if they wanted to, right? Because they're a private organization, even though they represent public employees.
Mm.
The Police Officer Association, that's private money. It's a nonprofit organization, but it's private money. But you couldn't get the city of San Marino, right, to donate to your campaign. And you can't get San Marino Unified School District to donate to your campaign because that's public money. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to help protect the public's trust in the electoral process, as well as the public's confidence in the board and the district, the board encourages all candidates to sign and adhere to the principles in the Code of Fair Campaign Practices pursuant to Elections Code 20440. Statement of qualifications. So we have option 1, which is congruent with our current policy, which is a 200-word limit for our candidate statements. And then there's option 2, right? Quack, can you scroll down? Option 2 is 400 words. And then I think there's an option 3. Oh, no, just option 1 and 2. So I think we want to stick with 200, right?
By the way, for this option, I thought
Mhm.
we are follow for LA County,
Hmm.
or we can come out our own.
I thought you could do either, right? You just have to pay more to do the 400.
Yeah, you
It's
pay more.
like twice as expensive to do 400 words. So we have done the 200 word to keep the cost down.
Mm.
So are you good with 200 or you want to?
I'm fine with 200.
Okay, 200?
Me too.
Okay, so let's remove option 2.
People stop reading after 100.
I know. That's good, especially in today's day and age. That's right. Okay. Option 1, candidate statement paid by district. The district shall pay the cost of printing, handling, translating, mailing, and or electronically distributing candidate statements. We're not doing that now, right, Jen?
No, we're not.
We're not, and I don't recommend we do that. We never have before. Option 2, candidate statement paid by candidates. It should be paid by candidates in a district like San Marino. So, because if we had, 10 candidates for,
Yeah.
can you imagine the district having to foot that bill? And elections are already expensive for the district. So are you okay with keeping option 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So tie votes in board member elections, option 1, tie decided by lot. Whenever the county superintendent of schools certifies to the board that there is a tie vote such that it is impossible to determine which of 2 or more candidates has been elected to the board shall immediately notify the candidates who receive the tie votes of the time and place where the candidates or their representatives should appear before the board. The board at that time and place shall determine the winner by lot. That's
Wow.
Education Code 5016. Option 2, tie decided by runoff election. Whenever the county superintendent certifies to the board that there is a tie vote such that it is impossible to determine which of 2 or more candidates has been elected to the board shall schedule a runoff election in accordance with law. I think
1 is cheaper.
1 is cheaper, but
I mean, if we're looking at public funds.
1 is cheaper, for sure.
I feel like a tie is probably highly unlikely. An exact tie.
Right, it is. We haven't had it yet.
Because we don't have a percentage amount you need to win
Right.
by, right? So
Right,
an exact tie.
Yeah.
Seems,
but stranger things have happened in the world, which is why this policy exists, so you just never know. But if you guys are good with option one, then we'll go with that.
What's decided by law, you know?
It's like a lottery, like.
Oh, lottery.
Yeah,
the lottery?
it's like that, yeah. I mean, the board would have to decide.
Oh, I thought they just vote on it or something.
Yeah, but can you imagine the political ramifications of the
Maybe
board?
option
But the
two would
option
just
two
be-
is like,
yeah.
you do the election again, right?
Option two is safer.
Option two is
Yeah.
safer
And
politically
it's,
for
Yeah.
sure.
well, option two is also, even though it's cost us money, it would really reflect like the will of the people,
Yeah.
you know,
Right,
which is what we're here to serve. So.
okay.
I think,
two?
I think option two is fine. I mean,
Okay.
it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
Not in my
but
lifetime.
looks more fair, so.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, let's go with option two.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They don't just pull their name out of a hat.
Right. You know what, that happens with us when we're doing layoff. And we have to assign points because
Oh,
we have
yeah,
a
that's-
high in seniority
yeah.
date.
Oh,
Literally, we have to roll dice or pick straws. It's terrible.
It's like a Russian roulette.
Yeah, it is. It's not, but it's our system. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is bylaw 9223, filling vacancies, and events causing a vacancy. This is highlighted the adjudication pursuant to a quo warranto proceeding declaring that an incumbent is physically or mentally incapacitated due to disease, illness, or accident, and that there is reasonable cause to believe the incumbent will not be able to perform the duties of the office for the remainder of the term. So that's one of the causes, and we do not currently have that in our policy. A board member's resignation, we've had that. A board member's removal from office by recall, we've never had that. A board member ceasing to be a resident of the district, that could happen. A board member could move out
easily.
and still want to serve. A board member ceasing to inhabit the trustee area, that we could strike because we're not a trustee district. A board member's absence from the state for more than 60 days, except in the following situations. A, upon district business with the approval of the board. B, with the consent of the board for an additional period not to exceed a total absence of 90 days, or in the case of illness or other urgent necessity, and upon a proper showing thereof, for more than 90 days. C, for federal military deployment not to exceed an absence of a total of 6 months as a member of the armed forces of the United States or the California National Guard. If the absence of the board member for this purpose exceeds 6 months, we have this language, right?
We do.
Okay, so we don't need to go through that because we're gonna.
And
Okay,
will you go back to the part that's highlighted that we need?
yes,
Oh, so nothing needs to be.
just that, the one in yellow.
So is it 60 consecutive days or 60
It's 60 calendar days.
total?
It's not 60 business days. It's like 60 calendar days,
know.
so it'll be consecutive.
It has to be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go down.
Mhm.
And then we just are citing the government codes that these sections can be found in, and then the education code, eligibility for appointment. Are you highlighting that?
Yes, that should be highlighted.
Okay, so in order to be appointed to fill a vacancy on the board, a person must meet the eligibility requirements specified in law and board by law 9220 governing board elections. This covers what we need to have covered for provisional appointments. When as authorized, we have this in our existing though, right?
Mhm.
Okay, scroll down. Education code section. Okay, so that paragraph, when as authorized by law, the board seeks to make an appointment because of failure to elect. The board by resolution may approve any additional procedures for selecting the person to be appointed to the vacancy.
Mm.
And we have done that in the past. That gives the board flexibility.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's all in this policy. Are we good? This one? That's, okay, board by law 9230 orientation. All of this in yellow is CSBA recommended. The governing board recognizes the importance of providing all newly elected or appointed board members with support and information to assist them in becoming effective members of the board. Incoming board members shall be provided an orientation designed to build their knowledge of the district and an understanding of the responsibilities of their position. Such orientation may include the provisions of information support and or training related to board functions, policies, protocols, and standards of conduct. As early as possible following the election or appointment of the board members, one or more orientation sessions shall be held during open meetings of the board. The board president and the superintendent or designee shall develop an agenda for the meeting and shall identify resources that may be useful for incoming board members. We have not done that in the past. We have done a board orientation in the superintendent's office with the executive team and in some cases principals with follow-up. I don't really think that it would be practical to have one or more board meetings for the purpose of orientation. I think it's more meaningful to have the new board member or members in the superintendent's office with a big, resource binder, or the documents can be provided electronically. And a Q&A, an open dialogue, can take place in the superintendent's office on each of the areas that they need to be briefed on. So I would recommend, I don't know, it's up to you guys. I would recommend that you strike 11 through 14.
Agree.
Because we are complying with that first paragraph and providing orientation. 16 through 23, upon their election or appointment, incoming board members shall be provided a copy of the Brown Act and informed that pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.1, they must conform to the Act's requirements as if they had already assumed office. Additional information for incoming board members may include, but is not limited to, board bylaws related to the limits of individual board member authority, the conduct of board meetings and other board operations, governance standards for ethical conduct, legal requirements related to the conflict of interest and prohibited political activity, protocols for speaking with district staff, members of the public and the media, and publications on effective governance practices. We are providing all new board members with that information. In addition, we are having new board members attend the CSBA annual meeting where they go through new board member professional development, which includes training on the Brown Act. In addition, the superintendent or designee shall provide incoming board members with specific background information regarding the district, including but not limited to the district's vision and goal statement, local control and accountability plan and other comprehensive plans, student demographic data, student achievement data, district policy manual, district budget, and minutes of recent open board meetings. The superintendent or designee may offer incoming board members a tour of district schools and facilities and may introduce them to district and school site administrators and other staff. Incoming members are encouraged at district expense and with the approval of the board to attend the CSBA orientation for new trustees. I just talked about that. Institute for new and first term board members and workshops and conferences relevant to the needs of the individual member, the board as a whole, or the district. You good with that? Okay, we are good with that, and we are moving to the next one. Board training. Okay, this is where it's going to get fun. Okay. Bylaw 9240 board training. The governing board believes that the board's ability to effectively and responsibly govern the district is essential to promoting student achievement, building positive community relations, and protecting the public interest in school districts. Board members shall participate in mandatory ethics training as outlined below and are encouraged to participate in ongoing opportunities for professional development sufficient to help them understand their responsibilities, stay abreast of new developments in education, and improve governance skills. So there was a bill that passed that requires all school board and county boards to go through ethics training, commencing, I believe, in the 2026 school year. So you will all have to go through that once every 2 years.
It is part of the Masters of Governance.
Mhm.
So we've already completed it then,
Awesome.
right?
Not all of you, but yes.
But right, yeah, okay.
Okay. So unless a
Yeah,
board member's
enjoy.
term, but you have to go through it every 2 years. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
unless a board member's term expires prior to January 1st, 2026, each board member shall complete ethics training in accordance with government code
Mm,
53234 through 53235.2 by January 1st, 2026, and at least once every 2 years thereafter. Once completed, the board member shall inform the board president and superintendent, who shall ensure that records are retained for each board member's participation in the required ethics training. The board president and or the superintendent or designee shall provide an orientation to newly elected or appointed board members consistent with board bylaw 9230 orientation. The board president shall work with the superintendent or designee to include funds for professional development and associated reasonable travel expenses for the board as a whole and for each individual board member in the district's proposed annual budget. Board members must complete the CSBA Masters in Governance program within their first year of becoming an elected official. All board members should attend the annual education conference and trade show, legal symposium for experienced board members, board president's workshop, Brown Act workshop, policy update webinars, and ethics trainings. Scroll down. Individual board members are encouraged to share the knowledge or skills acquired from individual professional development opportunities with the full board, thereby benefiting the board and district. Consistent with board bylaw 9320, meetings and notices, board members shall attend a professional development opportunity as part of a conference or similar public gathering, such as the annual education conference and trade show hosted by CSBA, so long as the majority of the board members do not discuss among themselves, other than as part of the scheduled program, business of a specified nature that is within the district's jurisdiction. So the entire board can participate in CSBA as long as we're not talking about anything that would appear on an agenda and should be talked about and voted on publicly. So this policy requires that all new board members go through the Masters in Governance training through CSBA. So, but within their first year, we were of them, by the way. Okay, so
It's online. It's on Zoom.
you can do it online.
It's on Zoom.
Okay.
It's,
Yeah, and it's really good. I mean, it's very helpful
it is.
in learning, you know, how to navigate as an elected official. Okay, so are we good with this policy? You ready?
By the way, I have a question on the Jason. For the district staff, what kind of annual training
Do they do?
for from the HR?
So every year at the beginning of the year, they have a series of trainings that seems to grow each year. I think we had 6 or 7 this year at the beginning. So it is everything from sexual harassment to
Yeah.
workplace violence to
Mandated
mandated
reporting,
reporting.
student
So
suicide prevention.
for these two, so not apply to the school board, right? Sexual harassment or violence.
No, I don't issue you trainings, no.
So no need
Unless you'd like that, we can.
for the company. I think they have to do sexual harassment. Yeah. Training.
Oh, yeah, all companies do in the state of
Yeah,
California.
yeah.
There's so many hours that you have to provide of that type of training every year. And we're in compliance with that. And most of our trainings, Dr. Rose can tell you, are through Target Solutions. So our employees do it online and they have to complete modules.
Mhm.
And so we have really good record keeping on who has completed all of their mandatory training. And so we make sure every single employee in the district is compliant.
I hunt them down. I have a list of who
Yeah.
has not complied, and I make sure that they complete it, so
Yeah.
that there's no one who has not.
So we're in compliance with the law, but thank you for asking that question. If the board would like any of those trainings, we would be happy to provide them. I'm sure Jason wouldn't mind. Okay,
So that's a new law, is that we have to get a train every 2 years? Is
the
it?
ethics, yes, that was a new bill that the governor signed in 2022, I want to say.
So it's not like we have a choice, we have to do it, right?
Yeah, we can't just
You
strike
do
it.
not have a choice. County boards and school boards used to be exempted,
Mhm.
but because of the bill that the governor signed in 2022, they're no longer exempt. So you do have to do it every 2 years. But we can actually bring a trainer out to the board,
Okay.
just like
Oh,
what
yeah.
we're doing, you know,
That's nice.
on the 14th. Is it the 14th or the 13th? 13th. We could bring a CSBA trainer out to do it for the board every 2 years so that you guys all get signed off at the same time. Not a problem.
Okay. So
We'll make it as painless and as easy as possible, but it also helps you with your 700 form and a variety of other issues.
Can we go back to 35? that paragraph. I feel like that's so specific to, it sort of limits us. And I mean, I understand what they're saying, but they're with their words painting us into a corner to only do their stuff. And there are board policies. And I don't know that having like conference, I don't know, advertising basically in board policies seems appropriate.
Yeah, you could totally take that out. So you could say consistent with board bylaw 93-320, meetings and notices, board members may attend professional development opportunities as part of a conference or similar public gathering period.
Yes.
Put the period after that and take out the rest, strike it. Yeah, I can see that.
I think you should leave in the part about don't discuss amongst yourselves. I think that's important.
Oh, yeah, okay.
After CSBA,
Yeah, okay, so
137.
yeah, take out such as the annual education conference and trade show hosted by CSEA, and then put the comma after the word gathering, and then so long as. Am I making sense? Probably not.
But they put a period in there where it shouldn't have been at all.
Yeah. And then take that out, and then put a comma after the word gathering. And then so long as the majority of the board members do not, yeah, that's good. And I think CSBA does that because of course this is their recommended policies, and CSBA is the premier organization for board members in California. Yes, Shelley and then Joshua.
No.
Oh, you just.
Sorry, that's my
Okay.
Oh.
sorry.
So,
This
so
is fun.
for the line 27. that means
Yeah, I guess that's where I was talking about too,
do
27.
they have to attend every year?
No.
Maybe it sounds like a
It
should.
doesn't say you have to. It says should. So that gives you the option. And not all board members
okay.
attend every year, but most do because it's the only training available to board members. That is, you know,
But if you don't have to attend every year, don't you think we should just strike it out and maybe just let
I
the.
think it should, because we're in education, we should encourage professional development. And it's the only professional development for board members, right? So it's up to you guys, you tell me, but I feel like. We
I
should be
think it's fine
encouraging.
to be in there. Yeah, I don't think we need to strike it. It's.
It
should.
says may,
It
it
should.
says may attend,
Yeah, may-
right?
may
May
sounds better.
attend.
Have to. if you
It
don't,
says
you
there,
can't.
may attend,
Yeah, if you
right?
can't, you
Should.
can't.
Okay, but I liked it kept in there only because you need a baseline minimal and you need some growth and,
Yeah.
training, because it looks like it's easy, right? It looks like what we do is easy, but there's a certain level of expertise, competence. There's a certain level of almost decorum because of the way in which you conduct yourself to represent the school district. So at a minimum, there needs to be some training in professional growth.
Right.
I mean, it's not even about what the expertise of the person. It could be high powered, CEO, you can run a Fortune 500 company,
Right.
but still in education, it's very specific on how things work and how things are conducted.
Yes,
Right.
it's a very different landscape, and we're expecting teachers to go to professional development. We're expecting our administrators to remain current on, their practices, best practices. And so we want our board to remain current as well and to get professional development when and where it's available. But again, it's not forcing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long as.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay, we can go to next.
Okay. All right, so the next board bylaw is 9270 conflict of interest. So all that you do not see highlighted is currently in our policy, and what you see highlighted is not. Conflict of interest from campaign contributions. Is this entire section?
Most of the board sample, the wording is different in our policy.
Okay, but we have a conflict of interest
Yes.
section in our current policy. So do we have highlighted areas?
So line 63, problems were given for campaign
Uh-huh.
contributions is not in our board bylaw.
Oh, this whole section. Oh, that's right. Okay, so prior to the district rendering a decision in a proceeding before the district involving a contract license permit or other entitlement for use as defined by government code section 84308, a board member whose campaign committee received a contribution of more than $500 from any party or participant to the proceeding or from an agent of such a party or participant in the prior 12 months, and the party who made such a contribution shall both publicly disclose the fact on the record of the proceeding. Additionally, if a board member willfully or knowingly received a contribution to the board member's campaign committee of more than $500 from any party or participant to such proceeding, or from an agent of a party or participant in the prior 12 months and knows or has reason to know that the participant has a financial interest in the district's decision, the board member shall not make, participate in making, or in any way attempt to use the board member's official position to influence the district's decision in the proceeding. However, a board member may make, participate in making, or attempt to use the board member's official position to influence the decision if the contribution is returned within 30 days after the decision was made, or after the board member knows or should have known about the contribution and the proceeding, whichever is later. All board members and the superintendent are prohibited from accepting, soliciting, or directing a contribution of more than $500 to a candidate or ballot measure campaign committee from any party or participant to a proceeding before the district involving a contract, license, permit, or other entitlement for use as defined by government code section 84308, or from an agent of a party or participant while the proceeding is pending before the district and for 12 months following the date of the district renders a final decision in the proceeding. If the board member or superintendent knows or has reason to know that the participant has a financial interest in the district's decision. However, if a board member or the superintendent does accept, solicit, or direct such a contribution during those 12 months, but did not do so knowingly or willingly, the board member or the superintendent may cure the violation by ensuring that the contribution or the portion exceeding $500 is returned within 30 days of accepting, soliciting, or directing the contribution. The board member or superintendent shall maintain records of curing the violation. For a board member or superintendent, a proceeding becomes pending when an item involving the contract, license, permit, or other entitlement for use as defined by government code 84308 is placed on a board agenda for discussion or decision, or when it is reasonably foreseeable that the proceeding will come before the district for a decision. For a party or participant and the agent of a party or participant, a proceeding becomes pending when the application is filed with the district, or if the proceeding process does not require an application, when the proceeding is before the district for a decision or other action. The contributions, disclosure requirements, and restrictions above do not apply to contracts that are required to be competitively bid, labor contracts, personal employment contracts, contracts valued under $50,000, contracts where no party receives financial compensation, or contracts with another governmental agency. And I think this is all covered in the ethics training and conflict of interest section. So let's go down, Form 700.
By the way, for those you just mentioned, is this the new version or
Yeah,
this
this is the new version. This is the recommended policy. Our policy doesn't have this, right, Jen?
recommended by CSBA or?
Yes, CSBA.
By CSBA, and it was updated in 2024. Ours was updated in 2022. So this one has a lot more info than ours does.
Because this look very new to me.
Yeah, it's not.
How about you think the city council,
They're gonna have to do the same thing with.
they are same thing? You know, from the when you became the candidate for election, when you collect your donation, immediately if over the 1,000, so you need to report.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this one is 500.
Yep, it's updated to 2024.
I don't know is that the county they will also make a change, you know, when to change it low down to the 500 or.
It must be because it's this was updated in 2024 and the government code section is here. But we can look into that
Yeah.
before we bring it back to the board for a second reading. Can you make a note, Jen, to check with
Yeah, the county.
county registrar recorder's office? Thank you. Okay, so Form 700, all of you have to fill out a Form 700 every year. Each district official shall annually file a statement of economic interest. Form 700 in accordance with the disclosure categories as specified in the district's conflict of interest code. An individual who ceases to be a district official shall within 30 days file a revised statement covering the period of time between the closing date of the last required statement and the date the individual ceased to be a district official. Additional requirements for boards that manage public investments. Any board member, district employee, or district consultant who manages public investments as defined by government code 87200 and who has a financial interest in a decision shall, upon identifying a conflict or potential conflict of interest and immediately prior to the consideration of the matter, do all of the following. Publicly identify each financial interest that gives rise to the conflict or potential conflict of interest in detail sufficient to be understood by the public, except that disclosure of the exact street address of a residence is not required. Not discuss or vote on the matter or otherwise act in violation of government code 87100. For a board member, the board member shall not be counted toward achieving a quorum while the item is discussed. Leave the room until after the discussion vote and any other disposition of the matter is concluded. However, the board member, district employee, or district consultant who manages public investments as defined by government code 87200 may speak on the issue during the time that the general public speaks on it. Additionally, for a board member, if the matter has been placed on the consent calendar, the board member shall abstain from voting on the consent calendar, or if the board removes the item from the consent calendar, the board member shall abstain from voting on the item. In any event, the board member shall refrain from discussing or voting on the item. However, the board member is not required to leave the room during consideration of the consent calendar. If a decision is made during closed session, disclose the interest orally during the open session preceding the closed session. This disclosure shall be limited to a declaration that the recusal is because of a conflict of interest pursuant to government code 87100. The board member, district employee, or district consultant who manages public investments as defined by government code 87200 shall not be present when the item is considered in closed session and shall not knowingly obtain or review a recording or any other non-public information regarding the decision. Conflict of interest under government code 1090, financial interest in a contract. And that needs to be, oh, it was your cursor, never mind. Going down to line 156, remote interest exception to government code 1090. A board member shall not be considered to be financially interested in a contract in which there is only a remote interest as specified in government code 1091. If the interest is disclosed during the board meeting and noted in the official board minutes, the affected board member shall not vote or debate on the matter or attempt to influence any other board member to enter into the contract. Non-interest exception to government code 1090. A district official shall not be considered to be financially interested in a contract if the interest is reimbursement for actual and necessary expenses incurred in the performance of official duties. In the employment of a spouse / registered domestic partner who has been a district employee for at least 1 year prior to the board member's election or appointment, or in any other non-interest specified in government code 1091.5. Common law doctrine against conflict of interest. A district official shall abstain from any official action in which the district's official private or personal interest may conflict with the official duties pursuant to the common law doctrine against conflict of interest, incompatible offices and activities. Board members shall not engage in any employment or activity or hold any office which is inconsistent with, incompatible with, in conflict with, or inimical to the board member's duties as an officer of the district.
Can we add in there, including any executive board position of organizations like PTA, all those school sites, you know, council.
Oh, okay.
Because I think here's where you would put like, I don't think a trustee on the foundation would be appropriate to
Yes.
be a board member.
Okay.
I don't think doing something big with a financial interest such as, I don't know, like grad night or like Carver Carnival, you know, like those big fundraisers.
Yes. Okay, so after the
Do you
period.
guys agree? I mean.
Yes, it's the appearance of conflict of interest, right?
They don't wanna
Because
have or like or
you're
athletic
blending money or,
athletic boosters
yeah,
also.
yeah,
It's also the conflict of interest is special treatment, not necessarily financial.
correct.
And we need to definitely, everyone gets the same equal treatment. Every single student is our student. So, I don't know where you want to put that kind of
Right.
language, but I
Yeah.
think we need to spell it out.
Okay, so Jen, is your cursor after the word district?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Board members
Shall be.
shall not hold any official or unofficial position with boards or committees
I think committees might be overstepping because as parents, I think we
Mhm.
do help in certain ways, but I don't think you should
Okay.
head them.
So I'm thinking of like the PTA boards, I'm thinking of like
That's
the
like
grad night is a
exec-
committee, it's not a
Exec
board,
board.
right?
Well, chair, you could say chair,
Okay,
you know.
any
Because if
officer
Joanna wants to
or-
be on, book fair committee, I think that seems totally,
Mhm.
We're just not chairing.
yeah,
basically.
just not
Okay,
chairing,
so,
not head,
all right,
not head.
board members shall not
Lead,
hold
not
any
lead.
official or unofficial chair or president.
Executive board committee
Chair
or executive board
Wait,
committee.
does this mean like,
but then you could be president of
Right.
PTA.
No, that's an executive board.
but can you be like
Okay.
historian, like no office
Executive.
title at
No.
all?
Each school site has an executive board. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry, Joanna, what were you saying?
I mean, I think we had a board member that was like a historian, right? So you can't hold any office title, is that what we're saying?
Yeah, but
and
previously she held the title and then she became a historian.
Oh, okay.
So,
So
most
we
of our
shouldn't just
terms are
not
4 years.
hold any officer position.
well,
basically.
I think officer position.
Yeah, officer position, right? Like
Yeah.
just no,
You could
yeah.
be a member at
You can
large
just
of
Okay,
volunteer. yeah.
Comma, executive or officer positions. Right?
officer. Yeah, you could say officer or executive board. Yeah. Yeah, take out committee because I think it's fair to participate.
Should we be specific and
Yes.
say with school connected organizations? Or should we say, just leave it like that, open-ended?
Oh,
Well, yeah, with school.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, with
Uh,
school.
With school related, because I mean, look, just
Yeah.
on boards, I mean, I
So,
think those are direct conflicts
official or unofficial, chair or executive officer positions
within,
with any school connected organizations.
Yeah.
sure.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
With any school connected
Getting hungry.
organizations. Does that look good, or you guys wanna wordsmith that a little more?
I'm processing and I really think we need to look at this area again so that
Yeah, I
our
mean-
language is a little, no, because I want to also respect my fellow board members who have children in the
Sure.
in all of these organizations. And, Mrs. Gill pointed out the fact that it's not just the undue influence financially, but it's the other kinds of power in terms of the position that you influence that you hold. So yeah, we want to wordsmith or craft that a little better.
Okay.
So I would leave it for now.
And then.
There
come
are,
back and-
yeah, or you can work on it
Sure.
and then just bring it
I
back
will.
to us, cause I'm
Right, and I
very
have some
confident you
concern.
could do this.
Yeah.
Concern?
I appreciate what Shelley was saying, because I have some concern, like school connected organization is so broad.
Too broad.
Yeah,
Maybe.
because right now, like, I hold a position in Girl Scouts, for example. Is that a school
No,
connect?
It's
No,
not a school
okay,
connected
all right.
organization.
But it
No,
just
it's
seems
separate, yeah.
very broad.
I
Connected
also
organization
think
Defined in policy.
like Chinese club is not connected.
No,
I think
okay.
Chinese school not connected.
Right.
Like things like that. I think it's
So-
something with San Marino in the title, honestly.
Any like 501c3, like the Friends of VAPA could be considered a school connected organization, right? So
Tab
PTA.
is a,
Tab, yeah, those would be school connected organizations. So we have a definition, I can bring that definition back, but I can also wordsmith it.
Mhm.
Because we definitely want to make sure that, you know, it's not gonna hurt anyone with respect to their parental rights. Because you have the right to be a parent and a board member.
Yeah.
As long as you're separating those things out, but I can see where there might be a conflict of interest in signing contracts. And there being, you know, liability for the district. If you're a board member in a separate role that signs a contract and then something goes south and you get sued, you know, are you signing as a board member or are you signing as, you know, that official from that organization? So is the board, you know, gonna be liable for an agent of the board signing that contract? So those are the kinds of questions I think.
it's a legal question, maybe.
Yeah. I can get
Additionally-
counsel on that too.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so is that good? For now, and then I'll check with counsel on that and we'll wordsmith it and then we'll bring it
Oh,
back.
What I just remembered,
Yes.
there's also the academic advisory committees
Mhm.
at each school site. There's LCAP. I think that those are undue influence as well, because they need to do their work and bring it to the board.
Right, so it would be a conflict of interest for you to serve
think
on a
so.
committee that's making a recommendation.
Yeah, I think
Right.
it is, don't you?
From the, yeah,
Is that a rule already?
No,
I think that's like an unwritten, just common sense
Okay.
kind of thing, but
Well, we thought it was.
yeah, okay. All right, got it. Okay, so let me work on that and I can bring it back for our second reading with more information and legal definition. Okay, so moving on to line 185, gifts. District officials may accept gifts only under the conditions and limitations specified in law, including but not limited to gifts of travel and related lodging and subsistence shall be subject to the current gift conditions and limitations, except when the travel is in connection with a speech given by a district official, provided the lodging and subsistence expenses are limited to the day immediately preceding, day of, and the day immediately following the speech, and the travel is within the United States. Number two, the travel is provided by a person or agency specified in Government Code 89506, including a governmental agency or authority. Bona fide public or private educational institution is defined in Revenue and Taxation Code 203, or nonprofit organization exempt from taxation under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Service Code. Gifts of travel exempted from the gift limitation as described in items 1 and 2 above shall nevertheless be reportable on the recipient's statement of economic interest, Form 700, as required by law. A gift of travel does not include travel provided by the district for district officials, and that's in Government Code 89506.
Okay, a question.
Yes.
So this this policy is for board member. What is the policy for the school district employee?
For
For
district
the
officials,
for the gift, yeah.
it's really the same.
Same,
Which is
uh-huh.
why in the conflict of interest, they were talking about board members and superintendents not being able to accept.
But
gifts.
district the policy they define is a dollar amount, right?
Oh, are you
the
talking about
accept the-
travel district?
No,
Sorry.
for accept the gift, yeah.
We don't accept gifts. We just can't accept gifts.
No, the
$50.
teacher, yeah.
Oh, that, our gift policy,
Yeah, gift, yeah.
$50.
Uh-huh.
And unless it is a group.
It can be a group.
A group gift for a coach. So if you wanted to give the coach of your soccer team a gift,
Mhm.
everybody could contribute to that. And I think that's 500, right? In policy, we'd have to pull that.
So,
that's separate.
so if there's a policy how to cover for this policy.
Well,
the
this
gift.
is for public officials, which is in
Yeah.
government code.
Yeah,
So this is all prescribed by government code for
Mhm.
public officials.
are you asking for board policy on gifts, Mr. Chang? Is that what you're asking for?
I think it's,
yeah. Maybe not in this chapter, but is that they also have a policy
There
to
should be a board policy on that.
restrict the board.
There's a law
There-
Yeah.
about it. There's.
Yeah, so what?
it's part of the ethics and the, you know, conflict of interest
Mm.
policy and training. Board members really shouldn't be accepting gifts in
No,
exchange
we-
for votes or.
No, we're clear.
Yeah.
This is regarding board members. I think Mr. Chang is looking at,
Yeah.
we've in the past talked about teachers that accept gifts.
Yes.
They're getting employment.
And the fourth-
They're flying to destinations. They're getting yeah,
Yeah,
but they have been doing it, and he's asking if I'm understanding Mr. Chang,
yeah.
where is that in our board
It's
policy?
in the 4,000s, right, Jason? The 4,000 series gifts.
Oh, 4,000?
Yes, and we'll get to that.
So Mr. Chang is not there yet. It's not in
Okay.
this section.
Okay.
That- I'm just
But-
trying to
but now-
clarify.
Yes, thank you, but now it's $50.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot accept anything that is of a value over $50.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, I'm gonna have to
unless-
take back that $50 I gave you at Christmas. Okay, or you're gonna have to claim it.
That's right.
$49.99.
I'm just referring to that chocolate bar I gave him, that,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Canadian dollars,
'Cause I'm gonna give it
Canadian
back.
dollars.
Yeah.
You have to add your travel costs to the cost of that coffee.
That's right.
So there are rules that personnel must follow and we must enforce, and we do, and we talk to employees about it every year. To make sure that there's no conflict of interest. And part of our training, does discuss how generous and benevolent our community is, and we want to make sure that we're not getting, gifts in exchange for letters of recommendation to colleges and universities or things like that, right? Just, there can't be gifts accepted and then expectations. Gift. So we try to avoid that. Okay. So moving on. Honoraria, a district official shall not accept any honorarium, which is defined as any payment made in consideration for any speech given, article published, or attendance at any public or private conference, convention, meeting, social event, meal, or like gathering. And this is specifically for district officials. The term honorarium does not include earned income for personal services customarily provided in connection with the bona fide business, trade, or profession, unless the sole or predominant activity of the business, trade, or profession is making speeches. Any honorarium which is not used and within 30 days after receipt is either returned to the donor or delivered to the district for donation into the general fund without being claimed as a deduction from income for tax purposes. Advice: any district official who in good faith believes that they may be subject to the requirements of this bylaw and has questions, is unclear or unsure regarding the application of the requirements of this bylaw to any particular instance or situation may seek advice from the district's legal counsel with the permission of the superintendent, board president, or majority of the board. Training. Unless a board member's term expires prior to January 1st, 2026, each board member shall complete ethics training in accordance with Government Code 53234 through 53235.2 by January 1st, 2026, and at least once every 2 years thereafter as specified in Board Bylaw 9240 board training. Are we good with this one? Okay, moving on.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Song, have you seen the Form 700?
Form 700. No.
You haven't.
Not been on term long enough to see this.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's not-
we can give you the sample so you can take a look. Yeah.
Okay,
Training.
another train. Okay.
Training on the Form 700,
Yeah.
yeah. Jennifer's an expert, right, Jen? Okay.
There's a new system, so it changed a little bit.
Okay. Let's go to the next policy, please. Okay, Board Bylaw 9320 meetings and notices. What we have highlighted here is what we're adding in accordance with law and is specified in Board Bylaw 9012. Board member electronic communications. A majority of the board shall not, outside of an authorized meeting, use a series of communications of any kind directly or through intermediaries, including social media and other electronic communications, to discuss, deliberate, or take action on any item that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. We spoke about this earlier. And it's just reiterating, the Brown Act provisions and how they apply to board member electronic communications. Line 22, we're adding superintendent. However, the superintendent or designee may engage in separate conversations or communications with board members in order to answer questions or provide information regarding an item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, as long as long as that employee or district official does not communicate the comments or position of any board members to other board members. Line 30, we're adding any doubt about a request for accommodation shall be resolved in favor of accessibility. Notice of the procedure for receiving and resolving such requests for accommodation shall be given in each instance in which the notice of the time of the meeting is otherwise given, or the agenda for the meeting is otherwise posted. And this is to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act with regard to accessing a board meeting. And then moving down to regular meetings, lines 38 through 40, unless otherwise determined by the board shall hold blank regular meetings each month, starting at blank PM on the blank day of the month at the district office board room. So you could fill that in, or you could strike that. Either way, it's usually the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, starting at 7 PM. And so it's up to you whether or not you want to memorialize that in our policy. Nope. Okay, strike it.
Yeah, strike it.
We just follow the current,
Practice.
practice, yeah.
No worries. Okay, so we can strike that.
Yeah.
At least 72 hours prior to a regular meeting, the agenda shall be posted. We do that already. We
By
do
law,
that.
yeah.
Special meetings, that's all just memorializing what we do. Emergency meetings, we're adding this paragraph. The board may meet in closed session during emergency meetings so long as 2/3 of the members present at the meeting agree, or if less than 2/3 of the members are present by unanimous vote of the members present, and that is Government Code 54956.5.
I thought this was the one that the emergency meetings could not have like superintendent's contract or salary or those things, right?
Right.
So it's all that language is still in there. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
8:20.
Um,
Oh,
What?
so.
Time
an
to go,
emergency
Mr.
meeting might be
Chair.
called for a disaster, right? Let's
Yes.
say we had a massive earthquake, knock on wood that we don't, but if we did, we might need an emergency meeting to make some really important decisions. Also, if there is a safety issue, you could have an emergency meeting with the chief of police in
Mhm.
closed session. That is one of the safe harbors or the exemptions for an emergency meeting. Okay.
Without notification. But
Yeah. Uh-huh. So, let's go down. We have government code, citations that we're adding in there, study sessions, retreats, public forums, and discussion meetings. We're adding government code citations. Location of meetings, let's see. Is this section in our current traditional teleconferencing? Let me go back.
I think
We were gonna.
18 is pre-Zoom.
Hmm?
Pre-Zoom.
Yeah, I wanted to
Before.
get more information on this one actually. Because it keeps changing, the rules keep changing around this. So, we can look at it and then when we bring it back, I'll have more information.
This whole section has been updated and broken down into categories. That's the difference with ours.
This whole section? Okay, and then what's the date on this policy?
This one was updated March of 2024.
Okay, so it's pretty current. Traditional teleconferencing, a board member may participate in any meeting by teleconference, which includes both audio or video, so long as the following conditions are met. All votes taken during the meeting are by roll call. The meeting is conducted in a manner that protects the statutory and constitutional rights of the parties or the public appearing before the legislative body of a local agency. The location of the board member participating by teleconference is open and accessible to the public during the meeting, except during closed session, such that members of the public may observe in person. The board member participating by teleconference may hear/listen to the meeting in the same extent as the board member participating by teleconference, and may make public comment during the same portion of the agenda as other members of the public from the same location as the board member participating by teleconference. Number 4, the location of the board member participating by teleconference is noted in the agenda, and the agenda is posted at the location of the board member participating by teleconference in advance of the meeting statutorily required based on the type of meeting. Number 5, at least a quorum of the members is within the district boundaries.
I would say for number 3, I think in the interest of protecting our board members who may be traveling for work or whatever, it says the public can observe them, that sounds like they can go into their hotel room. I mean, I think,
Actually, I think that's the law, so we need to.
I
check
think,
that.
I think observe, if we put something like, I mean, check, but if they say you have to stay on camera, I mean, something
So
like
let me
that.
look into the legal advice, because I think I've been to a
It
couple
just
of,
feels really,
I know, but that's the rule. Because again, they
You're
want to
supposed to
make sure.
post something even on your hotel door,
Yes,
outside
you
your
have to have
door.
on your hotel door,
If you're, yeah.
the agenda, right? And if a member of the public comes and knocks on your hotel door and says, hey, if you're having a meeting, I'd like to observe that, you're supposed to let them in and let them observe. Because you're engaged in your official activities as an elected official. It's a public position, a board member, or a board meeting is a public meeting. And that's just the way it is. However, the likelihood, if you're in, let's say that you're in New York, the likelihood of somebody even knowing that you have this posted on your door and knowing, you know, that they have the
if
right to do
some,
that.
a strange person's walking by in your hallway. I don't think it's safe.
I
I think
understand that.
safety over, I mean,
I'll get a legal opinion for you on this, but
I
for
think
sure.
definitely with the transparency, definitely people need to see that you're not being unduly coerced or
Mhm.
otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, but
Yeah, or that it's really you, you know, who's on, if your camera's on or whatever, and it doesn't go into that, but let me get a legal opinion on that, because that's always, that's what, the way I've been trained, that's what the attorneys have told me in the past. And this is CSBA's, again, recommended, it's been vetted by their counsel, but we'll look into it.
what is the title of this one too? People?
This one, go back up to the title, it is,
Notices.
meetings and
Traditional
notices. Oh,
teleconference.
this section, traditional teleconferencing.
Huh.
Okay, keep going. Okay, teleconferencing by individual board member due to just cause. Until January 1st, 2026, when there is just cause preventing a board member from attending a board meeting in person, the board member may participate in that meeting by teleconference without including the location of the board member participating by teleconference in the agenda, making the location of the board member participating by teleconference open and accessible to the public, posting the agenda at the location of the board member participating by teleconference. A board member needing to participate by teleconference for just cause shall notify the board at the earliest possible opportunity, including at the start of the regular meeting, of the need to do so, and include a general description of the circumstances relating to the need to appear by teleconference at the given meeting. And that's in Government Code 45953. For the board member to participate by teleconference under this section, all of the following are required. All votes taken during the meeting are by roll call. At least a quorum of the board participates in person from a singular physical location clearly identified on the agenda. The board member participating by teleconference utilizes both audio and visual technology to participate in the meeting. The board member participating by teleconference publicly discloses before any action is taken whether any individual 18 years of age or older is present at the board member's location and the general nature of the board member's relationship with each such individual. The public is able to access the meeting via a two-way audio visual platform or a two-way audio service and a live webcast with real-time public comment being allowed via the platform or service. In addition to public comment being available in person, the platform or service may require members of the public to register in order to make public comments, so long as the platform or service is not controlled by the district. The agenda for the meeting includes information describing how members of the public can access the platform or service. If the platform or service is disrupted such that the public cannot access the meeting or give real-time public comment, the meeting may continue, but the board member may not take any action on any agenda item until the disruption is resolved. A board member shall be permitted to participate by teleconference for just cause for no more than 2 meetings per calendar year. For purposes of this section, just cause may exist for any of the following. Number 1, a childcare or caregiving need of a child, parent, grandparent, grandchild, sibling, spouse, or domestic partner that requires a board member to participate remotely. A contagious illness prevents a board member from attending in person. A board member has a need related to a physical or mental disability not otherwise reasonably accommodated. A board member is traveling while on official business of the board or another state or local agency. Teleconferencing by individual board member due to emergency circumstances. Until January 1st, 2026, when a physical or family medical emergency would prevent a board member from attending a board meeting in person, that board member may request to participate in such meeting by teleconference. The board member requesting to appear remotely shall submit the request as soon as possible and include a concise general description of the emergency that necessitated the request. The board member shall not be required to disclose any disability medical diagnosis or personal medical information exempt under existing law. If the request is received timely, it shall be added to the agenda as the first item of business at the meeting, even before any closed session items. If the request is not received timely, it shall be taken up by the board before the first item of business at the meeting. The request shall be granted upon a vote by the majority of the board. If the request is granted by the board member may participate by teleconference without including the location of the board member participating by teleconference in the agenda, making the location of the board member participating by teleconference open and accessible to the public, posting the agenda at the location of the board member participating by teleconference. For the board member to participate by teleconference due to emergency circumstances, all of the following are required. All votes taken during the meeting are roll call. At least a quorum of the board participates in person from a singular physical location clearly identified on the agenda. The board member participating by teleconference utilizes both audio and visual technology to participate in the meeting. The board member participating by teleconference publicly discloses before any action is taken whether any individual 18 years of age or older is present at the board member's location and general nature of the member's relationship with such individual. The public is able to access the meeting via two-way audio-visual platform or two-way audio service and live webcast with real-time public comment being allowed via the platform or service in addition to public comment being available in person. The platform or service may require members of the public to register in order to make public comments so long as the platform or service is not controlled by the district. The agenda for the meeting includes information describing how members of the public can access the platform or service. And again, this is like redundant because I read it before.
Can we do it by discretion of the board president who would speak for the board rather than a majority vote? Because
I'm pretty sure.
how do we
that
have
this
a
is-
majority vote if it's an emergency and then
So I'm pretty sure this is memorialized in law because you know how it says until January 1st, 2026. These are the provisions that are in place now that will expire January 1st, 2026.
and we don't have the new ones yet, or we do?
No, we don't have anything. I mean, we'll get it closer to January 1st, 2026, but I think this is what it is now. But having said that, I'm going to confirm with council and let you know. I don't think these are provisions that the board can change because you can always do more than what the law requires. You just can't do less in your policies. So you can't modify a provision that is required in law, but you can always, enhance, like do more than what the law requires you. So let me check on that because I've been through professional development sessions where they've talked about this. And to me, it seemed pretty straightforward that this was what was required of board members participating remotely. But let me check. Okay. So let's scroll up or down. Scroll down, sorry. Teleconference meetings during a proclaimed state of emergency. It's basically, similar rules, right? So for the purpose of determining whether the meeting in person would present imminent risks to the health or safety of attendees due to the emergency. When the board has been determined pursuant to item number 1 above that the meeting in person would present imminent risk to the health or safety of attendees due to the emergency. The board may hold a meeting by teleconference during proclaimed state of emergency without including the location, without making the location of board members known, without posting the agenda for the board to hold such meeting of all of the following are required. Scroll down. So again, votes are taken by roll call. The public is able to access the meeting. You have to have an internet-based platform. The agenda for the meeting includes information describing how members of the public can access. Scroll down. If the platform, if it's disrupted, then you have to discontinue the meeting until you get it corrected or resolved. For any public comment period with a time limit, the board may not close that public comment period or the opportunity to register until the full time for public comment has elapsed. For any other public comment period, the board shall allow a reasonable amount of time to allow members of the public to provide public comment and to register to do so. The board may continue to conduct all meetings by teleconference through one or more 45-day periods, so long as, prior to the beginning of each 45-day period, the board has reconsidered the circumstances of the state of emergency and determines that it continues to directly impact the ability of the board to meet safely in person. So that was a lot to digest, and I'm going to bring back, the legal citations and whether or not there's any flexibility on any of that language prior to January 1st, 2026.
I think it's just mainly I guess I need clarity on what traditional teleconferencing is, and then they go into all the different ones, so it seems
It was
strange.
It was COVID that really allowed for us to have teleconferencing when school districts weren't holding classes in person and boards of education were holding their board meetings on Zoom or other platforms. These rules started to appear, and I think there was always the traditional teleconferencing option, and everything else was added later, and a provision of law was extended. So I will research further.
Because the way that they write, if you wouldn't mind going back up to
Can you go back up?
where it says traditional teleconferencing.
Mhm.
To me, it's referring to an individual board member. A board member may participate in any meeting by teleconference, which includes both audio. Okay, so that is saying we can just do that at any meeting, basically, individually,
Mhm.
which is not really our policy.
So the current
Since-
law is traditional teleconferencing, and then Assembly Bill 361 was passed state of emergency option. It's current law and it expires upon termination of any state emergency or January 1st. That expired January 1st, 2024. And then there's Assembly Bill 2449 specific circumstances option. And this was effective January 1st, 2023, and it expires January 1st, 2026.
This part. Okay, so
And so it says the governor signed AB 2449 in September of 2022. The purpose of the bill was in part to ensure minimum standards for public participation and notice requirements, allowing for greater public participation in teleconference meetings. To accomplish this objective, Assembly Bill 2449 adds a slew of requirements related to access to the meeting, notice, agendas, and cause for remote participation to the existing Brown Act requirements. Distinct from Assembly Bill 361, boards do not have to make any findings, including the findings required every 30 days by AB 361 related to a state of emergency to use this option. Among the new requirements are the following: at least a quorum of members must participate in person. Members of the public must be able to remotely hear, visually observe, blah, blah, blah. The meeting notice must include the in-person location. The agenda must describe the public's ability to attend the meeting. Board members may participate remotely, but only pursuant to the requirements and limitations described below.
okay, so
So
they
then
have
it
to
goes
treat it
into
like
all
a
these.
true noticing meeting, all that, if you want to do it. But if you have a just cause, the requirements are different.
Yes.
Where they have defined a just cause. Does that require a board vote? Can you go to the just
I
cause?
think it's their roll call, right?
So I understand,
Yeah.
I understand. So any of us have that option to just zoom in, but we must post it on our front door and say where we are and do all this stuff. Someone could come sit in your living room with you if you want. I mean, right?
Technically.
Right. But sorry, am I boring you?
No,
Sorry.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so through this whole year, that's what applies. And I just want to make sure,
yeah, so.
notify the board,
Uh-huh.
including at the start of a regular meeting, of the need to do so, include a general description of the need of, so it's if you think for the next meeting, you would have to know in advance and you notify the board.
Mhm. So to be clear, the traditional teleconferencing option, right, is currently available under the Brown Act.
Mhm.
And it has no expiration date. AB 361 expires either on January 1st, 2024, or upon the cessation of the current state of emergency by the governor, who has announced it will end on, that's February 20th, 2023. AB 2449, which goes in effect on January 1st, 2023, expires 3 years later on January 1st, 2026.
Okay.
So that's where you get the January
Yeah,
2026. So this is an assembly bill, and I don't think we have
So
flexibility.
Can we go down though?
Let's go down.
Um. Down. Okay, so this one doesn't require a board vote. That's fine. I mean, I think that seems
Right.
Because
unrealistic.
Yeah, and then when this one expires, we're basically going back to traditional teleconferencing as an option and following those rules, right?
can you?
Because this Assembly Bill 2449 is going to expire January 1st, 2026, which is 1 year from now.
Yeah.
Which will go by very fast. And hopefully we're not having a lot of, meetings where people are teleconferencing.
Right.
But you never know, right? Okay.
So we could add to it like board. What are they called when it's like norms that we meet in person?
Yeah, and we're having that meeting on the 13th.
Yeah.
So we're gonna develop.
Because it does create a better synergy and
Sure.
collaboration and
Absolutely.
transparency.
Yes, agreed.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else on this policy? Okay. So let's go, go to the next one. Or are we almost, I think we're almost done.
I know.
3 more.
This is the last
Three,
one, right?
only 3 more. There's only
Three more.
3 more policies.
We can do this. Okay.
Only
Bylaw
3.
9321 closed session. So what you see highlighted in yellow is what we're adding. In the first paragraph, it's just the education code and the government code sections that we're adding as citations, line 11 through 15. In the open session preceding the closed session, the board shall disclose the items to be discussed in closed session as specified in this bylaw. The board may either state the information on the agenda or refer the public to the item as listed by number or letter on the agenda. In the closed session, the board may consider only those items covered in its statement. And we're complying with that already. So it's memorializing our current practice. Line 17 through 22, after the closed session, the board shall reconvene in open session before adjourning the meeting and when applicable, bless you, shall publicly disclose any actions taken in closed session, the votes or abstentions thereon, and other disclosures as specified in this bylaw. Such reports may be made in writing or orally at the location announced in the agenda for the closed session as required by law. It's memorializing our practice. Lines 24 through 32, when an action taken during closed session involves final approval or adoption of a document such as a contract or settlement agreement, that becomes public upon such approval or adoption. The superintendent or designee shall provide a copy of the document to any person present at the conclusion of the closed session who submitted a written request. And that's pursuant to law. If the action taken results in one or more substantive amendments, the superintendent or designee shall make the document available the next business day or when the necessary changes to the document are completed. Whenever copies of approved agreements will not be immediately released due to an amendment, the board president shall orally summarize the substance of the amendment for the purpose, for those present at the end of the closed session. Confidentiality. A board member shall not disclose confidential information received in closed session unless the board authorizes the disclosure of that information or the information has been publicly reported by the district. The board shall not disclose any information that is protected by state or federal law. In addition, no victim or alleged victim of torturous sexual conduct or child abuse shall be identified in any board agenda, notice, announcement, or report required by the Brown Act unless the identity of the person has been previously publicly disclosed. Personnel matters, appointment, employment, performance evaluation, or discipline dismissal release. The board may hold a closed session under the personnel exception to consider the appointment, employment, performance evaluation, discipline dismissal, or change in employment status of an employee. Such a closed session shall not include discussion or action on proposed compensation except for a reduction of compensation that results from the imposition of discipline. Personnel matters, specific complaints or charges. The board may hold a closed session to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee unless the employee who is the subject of the complaint requests an open session. Before the board holds a closed session on specific complaints or charges brought against the employee, the superintendent or designee shall ensure that the employee receives written notice of the right to have the complaints or charges heard in open session. This notice shall be delivered personally or by mail at least 24 hours before the time of the closed session. Personnel matters, application for early withdrawal of funds in deferred compensation plan. The board may hold a closed session to discuss an employee's application for early withdrawal of funds in a deferred compensation plan when the application is based on financial hardship arising from an unforeseeable emergency due to illness, accident, casualty, or other extraordinary event as specified in the deferred compensation plan. I don't think that applies to our district, 65 through 68. So I'm gonna look into that one and bring information back. Can we scroll down? Can you highlight that one paragraph, Jen, and make a note that we need to review that? And then scroll down. Security matters. The board may meet in closed session with the governor, attorney general, district attorney, district legal counsel, sheriff, or chief of police, or the respective duties or security consultant, or a security operations manager on matters posing a threat to the security of public buildings, to the security of essential public services, including water, drinking water, wastewater treatment, natural gas service, and electric service, or to the public's right of access to public services or public facilities. Such discussions may be held in closed session during an emergency meeting called pursuant to board bylaw 9320. I was talking about that earlier. The board may also meet in closed session to consult with law enforcement officials on the development of a plan for tactical response to criminal incidents and to approve the plan. Real property negotiations, the board may meet in closed session with its real property negotiator prior to the purchase, sale, exchange, or lease of real property by or for the district in order to grant its negotiator authority regarding price and terms of payment for the property. And this anticipated litigation, we have that in our current policy, Jen?
Yes.
Okay, so we can skip that. Go down. Existing litigation based on the advice of legal counsel, the board may hold a closed session to confer with or receive advice from its legal counsel regarding existing litigation when discussion on the matter is in an open session would prejudice the district's position with respect to such litigation. Litigation is considered to be existing when the district has been named a party to the litigation, or a district officer or employee has been named in a party to the litigation based on prior prospective activities or alleged activities during the course and scope of that office or employment, including litigation, which involves whether an activity is outside the course and scope of the office of employment. For this purpose, litigation means any adjudicatory proceeding, including eminent domain before a court, administrative body exercising its adjudicatory authority, hearing officer, or arbitrator. Tort, public or workers' compensation liability, the board may meet in closed session to discuss a claim for payment of tort liability losses, public liability losses, or workers' compensation liability incurred by a joint powers authority formed for the purpose of insurance pooling or self-insurance authority of which the district is a member. Joint powers agency issues. When the board of the JPA has so authorized, and upon advice of district legal counsel, the board may meet in closed session in order to receive, discuss, and take action concerning information that has direct financial or liability implications for the district and has obtained in closed session of a JPA of which the district is a member. During the board's closed session, a board member serving on the JPA board may disclose confidential information acquired during a closed session of the JPA to fellow board members. Review of audit report from California State Auditor's Office. Upon receipt of confidential financial draft audit report from the California State Auditor's Office, and before the report has been made public, the board may meet in closed session to discuss its response to that report. After public release of the report from the California State Auditor's Office, any board meeting to discuss the report shall be conducted in an open session unless exempted from that requirement by some other provision of law. And then we have an education code citing on line 226. And that is it for this policy. Are we good?
Can you explain the California State Auditor Office?
So if the district were to be audited by that particular office, then the board could discuss a response to that in closed session.
But I thought usually the staff from the LA County, right? Audit, right?
I think if you're being
Is that
audited,
is a Is the one like a financial or the other
So we
audit?
have our own audit firm that
Mhm.
audits our budget.
Yeah.
But the California State Auditor's Office would likely be
Mm.
auditing something else,
the
like a
something-
misappropriation of
Mhm.
funds of some
It's like
sort.
a special circumstance.
So I
Okay.
think if you're being audited by the California State Auditor's Office, you probably are in trouble.
Yeah.
And so we don't ever want to be audited by them.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we're gonna avoid that. That's why you don't know about it.
Yeah,
because
that, yeah,
we've
that's
never had
another
that.
reason I'm not used to, yeah.
Yeah, that's just in case, right?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, that'll never happen while I'm here. Okay, review of assessment interest, oh, that's not anything we need to worry about. Okay, so can we move on to the next policy?
Yeah.
Okay. We're in the home stretch. Bylaw 9322, agenda meeting materials. I thought we just did that.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Didn't we just do closed session?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought we did agenda
Nope.
We just did.
materials, but okay, I'm wrong. Sorry, they're all looking the
Should I
same.
get your coffee?
Yeah, I need one, right? Okay, board bylaw 9322, agenda meeting materials, agenda content. Governing board meeting agendas shall reflect the district's vision and goals and the board's focus on student learning and well-being. Each agenda shall state the meeting time and location and shall briefly describe each item to be transacted or discussed, including items to be discussed in closed session. So that's memorializing our current practice. The agenda shall provide members of the public opportunity to address the board on any agenda item before or during the board's consideration of the item. The agenda for a regular meeting shall also provide members of the public an opportunity to address the board regarding matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, which are not on the agenda. The agenda does not need to provide an opportunity for public comment on an item that has previously been considered at an open meeting by a committee comprised exclusively of board members, provided that members of the public were afforded an opportunity to comment on the item before or during the committee's consideration of the item, and the item has not been substantially changed since the committee considered it. The notice and agenda shall describe the means available for the public access to the meeting and provide public comment in person. And if a board member is appearing remotely due to an emergency circumstance or for just cause pursuant to Government Code 54953 through an internet-based service or call-in option. The agenda shall include information regarding how, when, and to whom a request for disability-related accommodations or modifications, including auxiliary aids and services, may be made by an individual who requires accommodations or modifications in order to participate in the board meeting, as well as the procedure for receiving and resolving such requests as required by law. Each agenda for a regular meeting shall list the address designated by the superintendent or designee open session item, or for records of a statement threatening litigation against the district to be discussed in closed session when such documents have been distributed to the board less than 72 hours before the meeting. Each agenda shall include a statement regarding the option for students and parents / guardians to request that directory information or personal information of the student or parent and / guardian as defined in Education Code Section 49061 and or 49073.2 be excluded from the minutes. The agenda shall also state that the request must be made in writing to the secretary or clerk of the board. Scroll down. Okay, if the board president and superintendent deny a request from a board member to place an item on the agenda, the board member may request the board take action during a board meeting to determine whether the item shall be placed on the agenda. The board president and superintendent shall also decide whether an agenda item is appropriate for discussion in open or closed session, whether the item should be an action item subject to the board vote or an information item, and when the item is placed on the agenda. In order to promote efficient meetings, the board may bundle a number of items and act upon them together by a single vote through the use of a consent agenda. Consent items shall be items of a routine nature and items for which the board discussion is not anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. When any board member requests the removal of an item from the consent agenda, the item shall be removed and given individual consideration for action as a separate agenda item. The agenda shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any consent agenda item unless such item has been previously considered at an open meeting of a committee comprised exclusively of board members. Scroll down. Agenda dissemination to members of the public. Agenda and related materials distributed to the board shall be made available to the public upon request without delay. However, only those documents which are disclosable public records under the Public Records Act and which relate to an agenda item scheduled for the open session portion of a regular meeting, or which contain a claim or written threat of litigation, which will be discussed in closed session, shall be made available to the public. At least 72 hours prior to a regular meeting, the agenda shall be posted at one or more locations freely accessible to members of the public. In addition, the superintendent or designee shall post the agenda on the homepage of the district website. The posted agenda shall be accessible through a prominent direct link to the current agenda or to the district's agenda management platform in accordance with Government Code Section 54.2. When the district utilizes an integrated agenda management platform, the link to that platform shall take the user directly to the website with the district's agendas, and the current agenda shall be the first available. If a writing which relates to the open session agenda item or which contains a claim or written threat of litigation, which will be discussed in closed session during a regular board meeting, is distributed to the board less than 72 hours prior to a meeting, the superintendent or designee shall make the writing available for the public inspection at a designated location. At the same time, the document is distributed to all or a majority of the board. However, if the writing is distributed to at least a majority of the board at a time when the designated location is closed to the public, this requirement may be satisfied by posting the writing on the district website if the following conditions are met. An initial staff report or similar document containing an executive summary and any staff recommendations related to the agenda item is made available for public inspection at the designated location at least 72 hours before the meeting. The writing is immediately posted on the district's website in a position and manner that makes it clear that the writing relates to an agenda item for the upcoming meeting. The district lists the website address where such writings may be accessed on all board meeting agendas. A physical copy of the document is made available for public inspection at the designated location at the beginning of the next regular business hours, not less than 24 hours before the relevant board meeting. The superintendent or designee shall mail a copy of the agenda or a copy of all the documents constituting the agenda packet to any person who requests the items. All materials shall be mailed at the time the agenda is posted or upon distribution of the agenda to a majority of the board, whichever occurs first. The superintendent or designee shall email a copy of or a website link to the agenda or a copy of all documents constituting the agenda packet to any person who requests such items to be delivered by email. If the superintendent or designee determines that it is technologically infeasible to do so, a copy of the agenda or website link to the agenda and a copy of all other documents constituting the agenda packet shall be sent to the person who has made the request in accordance with mailing requirements specified in law. Any request for mailed copies of agendas or agenda packets shall be in writing and shall be valid for the calendar year in which it is filed. Written requests must be reviewed following January 1st of each year. Persons requesting mailing of the agenda or agenda packet shall pay an annual fee as determined by the superintendent or designee, not to exceed the cost of providing the service. Any document prepared by the district or board and distributed during a public meeting shall be made available for public inspection at the meeting. Any document prepared by another person shall be made available for public inspection after the meeting. These requirements shall not apply to a document that is exempt from public disclosure under the Public Records Act. Upon request, the superintendent or designee shall make the agenda packet and or any writings distributed at the meeting available in appropriate alternative formats to persons with a disability as required by the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's this policy. Are we good with this policy? Any questions, comments? Okay, we're moving on to the next one.
We're good.
Wait.
I just want to make mention, one incident that had occurred previously regarding, materials. So a speaker came in and provided material and proceeded to just pass it around. I think there needs to be some sort of practice that it just can't, perhaps somebody that has an agenda, has mental health issues, cannot just come and just start distributing material, because it can be disruptive to the order of the board and the business of the school district.
Right.
Also, when someone has prepared something, we don't even know the authenticity or whether it's valid. Somebody produces data of some kind and then pass it around. I think it should also, subject to somebody giving us something, it has to be per our board president and you examining the document, and then you can disperse it to us, right? That it's great that they bring documents, but I think that was one thing we need to kind of think about that has happened 3 times in the past.
Yeah, okay,
So I just,
Thank
okay,
you.
great,
all right,
thank you.
let's move on.
Okay.
That's one.
What about, sorry, board
Mhm.
members, like if preparing some sort of thing that's not on the agenda to present, do you think is,
To present.
Should not be producing documents or PowerPoints or slide decks, those, because
if it's not an
yeah,
agendized
it's
item?
not agendized, but also it distracts from our cabinet that works hard, in producing the material. And we too don't have an opportunity to authenticate what it is that's being shared out, right?
Can that be something that we memorialize in our board communication protocols and norms? Or do you want it in policy? I guess it's a question that I'm posing, or do you want something in policy that says?
It's
that you-
during meetings that we're given the material, and it's also during meetings that people are presenting to the public. So if I have a personal agenda,
I think it needs to be a
Yeah.
policy.
Okay.
yeah, I need to make sure I get the president's approval
Yeah,
and
because
my
if the
board
president
members.
the president will set the agenda.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be sprung on President Chang, for instance. I can't just produce something and then share it, and then President Chang doesn't even know about it. You don't even know about it.
Okay,
But we have one organization, they always using the public comment. Then they give
Yes, but
the
should not
car
be
and
providing
then they
material
distribute
yeah.
to.
until you guys review it, right? You can take it. We're gonna take the
Right.
material. It's just, it should have this process, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, the great points, all good comments and questions and statements, and I'm gonna take all of your feedback. And do a deep dive on, where it should go, and then I can incorporate it into a draft second reading. That you can take a look at when we bring these policies back. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, you saved the best for last.
Yes, meeting conduct, this is by law 9323. We're adding an education code citation to line 21 and 22. Under public participation, lines 41 through 44, we're adding except that if the meeting is conducted using remote public participation or with a board member attending remotely pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, a member of the public desiring to provide comment through the use of a third-party internet website or online platform may be required to register as required by the third-party provider. So this goes back to the previous policy and the assembly bill that we were talking about. So under, can you go back? Yeah, right there. In order to conduct district business in an orderly and efficient manner, the board requires that public presentations to the board comply with the following procedures. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board on any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, either before or during the board's consideration of the item. Number 2, at the time so designated on the agenda at a regular meeting, members of the public may bring before the board matters that are not listed on the agenda. The board shall take no action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. Number 3, furthermore, the board or board member may provide a reference to staff or other resources for factual information, ask staff to report back to the board at a subsequent meeting concerning any matter, or take action directing staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Number 4, the board need not allow the public to speak on any item that has already been considered by a committee composed exclusively of board members at a public meeting where the public had the opportunity to address the committee on that item. However, if the board determines that the item has been substantially changed since the committee heard the item, the board shall provide an opportunity for the public to speak. Scroll down. Lines number 145 through 147 under recording by the public. Members of the public may record an open session board meeting using audio or video recorder, still or motion picture camera, cell phone, or other device, provided that the noise, illumination, or obstruction of view does not persistently disrupt the meeting. That is in the CSBA recommended policy, is not currently in ours, but that is the law. They do have the right to do that as long as it's not creating a disruption. So you'll have to decide if you want it in the policy or if you don't want it in the policy, but it is permissible by law.
I mean, we already record and post the meeting, so I don't see the difference. I do think taking out persistently, because I think does not disrupt sounds clearer.
Okay, you want to strike through the word persistently? Okay, yeah. Makes sense. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
So what it's saying is they may not record,
No, they
correct?
may.
May,
They're
they can,
allowed to,
yeah.
they can come in with their cell
But we
phone.
have a recording, it's posted.
But they can still do that if they want. Yeah.
It's a law.
It's like if
Right.
if the press came in,
Mhm.
you know, it's open.
We have to allow them to do
As
that.
long as it's not disruptive.
Correct. Yeah. So if they came in with a big spotlight and we couldn't see, we were blinded by their spotlight, that would be disruptive. The board president could stop the meeting.
I think we take out persistently in the next paragraph as well.
Yeah.
And then seems fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can't like
Yeah,
have your flash on.
I'm almost hesitant in this part. I get the public right? It's a public meeting.
Yeah.
But I have seen film footage of other school districts that don't have clear policy on this. And you have a circus, you have the media, you have television, you have bands of marching people coming into your and that's within their right, but still within the scope of what we're doing. It should not be disruptive or in such an expansive matter that it takes over on what.
Which is disruptive.
And it would be
Yeah.
within the board's right to stop the meeting if it becomes disruptive to the point where you can't even conduct business because it's so disruptive, and that has happened in many.
In multiple
Yeah,
districts,
it
in
has
multiple,
happened, and boards have stopped the meeting and then.
yeah, where they're
that's-
escorted out by police and things like that, but I'm almost wondering if it's not even under this recorded by the public, but see, because if you allow recording, everybody to do their recording, they're allowed to modify their recording. They can show snippets of it. They can heighten some protest to where even if there's two people in here, it could seem like it's, you know, gone bonkers. And so I'm just wanting to make sure that somewhere in our policies that we make sure that there isn't that going on.
Well, they can actually do that with our current public posting as well, like everything they could just download and.
Yeah. I
make-
mean, that's
Yeah,
just that, if somebody has a will to do that,
Right.
they will do it.
We have.
Right,
We
but then
know.
we can still run our meeting and they can still do it and adapt, you know, change our
Right.
videos. Yes.
I think just they don't disrupt. What you said, Dr. De La Torre, was interesting where you said meetings have been stopped, which is, so activities, that's referring to the actual action of recording or whatever they're doing.
Right.
With the noise or whatever. But does the president have the ability to actually just stop the meeting?
You
Mhm.
could say yes.
Yes.
And you
Is
could
that
say,
here or is that in a
Another
different policy?
place.
it
Yeah,
is.
It's a different place, right?
Yeah, and it has been used and it has been done. So you would say the
Like a
board
safety
president
concern.
would pound.
And just be like.
We have
Yeah.
in San Marino, we have actually stopped a meeting,
No,
Mr.
but we
Chang,
had, no. but we
because
had-
I've never seen it in 12 years. There's a
Ah.
meeting stop.
No, but we have had some disruptions and the board president has said, you know, this is disruptive. We need to conduct our business. Please, you know, quiet down or sit down. And we've had compliance for the most part. And we got on with our meeting, but that doesn't always happen in some districts. And so the board president, if it got so disruptive, after he's asked people to stop, doing whatever they're doing that's causing this disruption and they don't stop, then you can, stop the meeting and everybody would leave the room and then you can either come back and, start the meeting again. Once people have settled down, calmed down and people are quiet and compliant. Or you would reschedule, a continuation of the meeting for later on. That's my understanding. And that has been used elsewhere. So, I don't see that
Okay.
happening here. I'm, we have really good,
Looks
control,
good.
great people with good public workers. So, anything else on this policy? Is this the last one? Okay.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank
9 o'clock.
you.
9 o'clock?
Yeah.
And you just got through your entire